Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show, coming from right here on my YouTube channel. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea, and it is an awesome honor and privilege, as it is every day, to have you, our international friends, gather around so we talk about our favorite things in the world: movies, movie news, TV, streaming, all sorts of good things. Wandering in late like he does all the time.
That isn't true.
Robert Meyer Burnett, sleeping in.
You know, I'm usually never late because I like my morning routine. I come here, I have a little nosh, I make my coffee.
By the way, by nosh, he means breakfast ramen. Not kidding. He literally walks in. I'm outing him right now. He comes in here every morning, grabs some instant ramen, mixes up a bowl, and he's slurping until about 5 seconds before the...
You know, and I didn't get time to do that. It's very sad.
By the way, it was traffic. There was a traffic accident. That's why he wasn't in here.
It's true.
Also, filed under the category of having friends on day who are unemployed, Christian Harloff's here today.
That's the truth. And I'll also say
that's what my mother-in-law thinks we are. You know, people who do YouTube channels who are just actually unemployed. Yeah.
I remember a long time ago saying to someone, "Yeah, I'm starting this YouTube channel." Like, but don't you want a job? I'm like, yeah. But that's kind of the point.
But that's my mother-in-law.
Yes, and I'm sorry for letting you out of your tires this morning.
Oh, yeah, well.
And sitting over there, joining you guys in the live chat today. And by the way, he's going to be on Movie Club a little bit later as well. Ray Orr's here. Ray, how you doing?
Nothing feels better than Christian walking in and saying, "Oh, you still work here?" I'm very worried right now. He's on my back. I'm sweating so much. I'm like, what have him and John been talking about? And should I prepare my new life at Walgreens?
I felt bad because I was pulling up and I saw Ray and I was like, "Get out of the way, man!" He's like, and he looked like
And of course, running the show today, producer Jonathan Boyko. Jonathan, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you guys doing?
Pretty good. Jonathan has the ultimate job security because this show just doesn't happen if he's not sitting over there. He's kind of got me by the short and curlies. Anyway, guys, speaking of short and curlies, we're glad you're here. That didn't come out right at all. We are so glad.
I've been staring into your bathroom.
That sounded better in my head for a second. Didn't quite turn out the way I wanted
These
to.
cameras work both ways. We see what you're doing in the bathroom.
Short and curlies, Manscaped.
Yeah, that's a segue for later. It's awfully good to have you guys here today. Thanks for being here, and here's how today's show is going to go. We're going to break the show into two parts. In the first half of the show, we're going to talk about some predetermined topics. Then in the second half of the show, we're going to take your live comments and questions. How do you get a live comment or question on the show? Well, number one, you got to be watching live. Number two, when we get to the end of the main topics, we'll announce that we're opening up the super chats. When we do, that is your time to fire in your thoughts, opinions, theories, questions, whatever, and we will read those off at the end of the show. However, be ready to fire those in because we only leave the super chats open for like 2 or 3 minutes. Be ready to fire those in as fast as you can. All right, guys. With that down, we got a couple of things we want to announce here. First of all, today at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, that's 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, the return of Movie Club. And we're going to be talking about, since Tom Cruise is riding high right now with Top Gun, we're going to talk about what I actually might think is his best movie, which is All You Need Is Kill, Live, Die, Repeat, Edge of Tomorrow, whatever the fuck you want to call this movie. It's pretty awesome. And we're going to be talking about that at 3 p.m. today, Pacific Standard Time. Make sure you guys come back and join us for that. Also, want to let you guys know about something kind of exciting that we're going to be able to give you more details about in the near future. If you follow me on social media, I made a little bit of a semi-announcement, but if we bring up if you go to Ryan Reynolds' Twitter page, there's the top of his Twitter page, and if you go under that Useless Wexham documentary he's got coming out, I'm just kidding. I'm very much looking forward to that. You'll see he retweeted an announcement that I made that we have just entered into a new partnership with the great folks over at Mint Mobile. And we're going to be able to announce exactly what it's going to be in about a week or so, but it's going to allow us to put a new, I say segment into the show that's going to allow for another level of fan interaction and audience interaction with the show, which we're very excited about. And we will give you guys more details on that a little later, but we're super excited to be working more closely with Mint Mobile now, and more details to come. Okay, guys, with that down, let's get into a couple of off the tops here, shall we? And the first one is this. You know, speaking of Tom Cruise flying high rate recently, I don't know if you heard this, but Top Gun Maverick flopped so badly.
Crash and burn, Mav.
I mean, I said for years it was too late. It was too late for a Top Gun sequel. But yeah, thing only made it's closing in on 1.4 billion.
Wow.
Closing. I mean, it may not quite get there, but it's get close to 1.4
It's going to
billion.
outgross domestically Avengers Infinity War.
It's already closing on that number. It may have already passed Black Panther. I mean, it's just done bonkers business and just continues to do great. It actually climbed from the number 6 spot at the box office last week to the number 3 position of the box office recently, and its box office actually went up 1.6%, which was just nutty. But as they say in Star Trek: The Next Generation, all good things must come to an end, because it has now been announced that Top Gun Maverick, long after the new kind of normal of a 45-day theatrical window, 90 plus days after it, Top Gun Maverick is going to finally come to streaming. This comes from the folks over at Vulture, who wrote the following. If you feel the need to experience Top Gun Maverick from the comfort of your couch, that is, you're in luck. Tom Cruise's latest record-breaking, sound barrier-shattering death dream of a film is finally heading to digital release on August 23rd, so next week, followed by a physical media drop that nobody cares about, a physical media drop in early November. So it's coming. This thing's going to blow by the old 90-day window, which is what Tom Cruise, it wasn't just Tom Cruise digging in his heels and saying, we are not putting this on streaming while COVID's going on. This thing is going to theaters. He also dug his heels in about, no, none of this 45-day window, because I don't know if it's $200 to $300 million this thing has made since what would have been the end of the 45-day window. I haven't done the math on it, but I'm guessing it's somewhere in that neighborhood. I don't know. So, I mean, good for it. Now, you could make an argument. This thing still just made $7 million this past weekend. And there's nothing significant. I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing Beast this weekend, but really there's nothing big and significant coming out for weeks. Maybe there's an argument you should be leaving it in theaters maybe for a few. You could probably accumulate another $20 million. But I know, Rob, you hear about this. They stayed in theaters way longer than most movies do nowadays, coming out on streaming next week. How do you feel about it?
Well, first of all, there's kind of a purity of this movie. It really knows what it is. It was made because the star wanted to make it and waited till he knew that he had something worth making. And it pleases everyone on every level. It's in a way, I hate to say it, it's old school 80s Jerry Bruckheimer filmmaking that we just don't have anymore. And it's a great star turn by Tom Cruise. It has a great supporting cast. You've got Penny Benjamin coming back in the guise of Jennifer Connelly. I mean, there's nothing about this movie that isn't good and fun and irresistible. And the fact that they allowed this to stay in theaters, which is, I've always thought locking something into a 45-day window is dumb. Because what if it's a hit? This shows that audiences are not just seeing this movie once. They're going back again and again and again. And I told you last weekend, IMAX started a new promotion where they have a new poster.
Yeah, brand new collectible
that
poster.
they're giving out. And I think with IMAX having E.T. last weekend, I bet they're happy to have Maverick still in theaters, because this in IMAX is incredible. And, dog days of summer, what better way to enjoy yourself in the air-conditioned coolness than seeing a cool movie, again and again and again.
Christian, I was skeptical about this movie. I knew it's probably going to be good, but it's 20 years a little bit late for this thing. About a year and a half ago, I go to CinemaCon. It was their first one back, and they showed us the first 18 minutes. And I remember coming out of that, and I went, if the rest of this movie is like this is phenomenal. And then they showed us the full thing at the most recent CinemaCon, and it was. What did you think about Top Gun Maverick, and what do you think about it being in theaters as long as it has been? And is this the right time for it to go to streaming?
By the way, I just want to point out, we have not introduced my esteemed colleague here today.
Yeah, we did.
No one said, no one really.
We said Christian Harloff, right?
He sure did. Remember when he said about his mother said I was unemployed?
Well, I understand that, but I mean, I think you're a legend, and to be sitting next to you again, I just want.
Are you applying for a job right now? Is that what's happening?
I just think it's great.
Right in front of me.
I love seeing
point out it's great to see you again. And I just thought the unemployment thing. I wanted to be to me, you're a legend.
Well, thank you so much.
And whether you're employed or not, I just want to say it's great to be working with you.
Same here. I'm happy to be with you.
Why are you mentioning that word a lot? I mean, seriously.
We're trying to give you.
We're psychologically setting you up.
I'm trying to give you the axe of Zoloft.
He acts him so.
I won't call him by his real name. Anyway, so to answer your question, I saw the film. It was you guys that had posted that you'd seen it at CinemaCon. I was excited for it. I'm a big Top Gun original fan, so I was always excited for it. I always thought the move that he did well, Tom Cruise, is fighting back and saying, no, I know that everybody's doing the streaming thing right now during COVID, and I understand that, but we're going to stay the course. We have a good enough movie to do that. Right. And I respect him very much for that. I love the movie. It's my favorite movie of the year, hands down. Because of everything that Rob just said. I haven't experienced watching a movie like that in a very long time. That kind of experience that I did back in the 80s, 90s, and that it's
joyful.
Joyful, but it's not just 80s nostalgia. It's a good movie. It's got a good character. It's got a good story behind it. It's got emotion. It has new characters. Mm-hmm. It does what I love about Cobra Kai, to be honest, is that it infuses an older generation with a newer generation. I thought
always got to bring up Cobra Kai.
Every single time. There's a new trailer coming out. But to answer your question, as far as is this the right window for digital? I believe it is, and I think that, like you said, even if it's making the argument that you said could be made, let's say it makes an additional $7 to 10 million or whatever it might be. Who's to say with all the $15, $20 on Amazon or whatever it might be that it could make that? So maybe that's their reasoning is, okay, well, that'll make just about as much. Plus, people are still seeing it in the theater too, so we've got two over. I'm on a different page with you guys when it comes to the 45/90 as a family man, person with kids. Like, I like it, but I like it because I was told that when I subscribed to certain things. Paramount never told you that. Paramount never said, we guarantee you we're going to have the 45 to 90. They never guaranteed it. It's, again, Zoloft, then his crew, that said, we're guaranteeing it, and then they change it. We'll get into it later. But the point is, I think that when it's not guaranteed, it should be a case by case. I don't think that you should have done 45/90 with Top Gun because of the obvious reason it's making hand over fist.
Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? Top Gun is now coming streaming next week, even though it's still making some cash in there, but it has been in there longer than any other movie for a long time. How do you feel about that? Jump down into the comments section below and let us know your thoughts. Before we get on to the next topic, there's one other thing I forgot to mention. For those of you guys watching live, you'll see a pinned comment at the top. There's a lot of stuff going on in the States, and there's a great organization that we have done some work with before called Feeding America. And we've done some stuff from there before. And so for today's episode, just letting you guys know, because I didn't give you the heads up on this, but for every like that this live stream gets, for every like that this live stream gets by the end of the stream, we are going to donate 25 cents to Feeding America. So if we can get 1,000 likes before the end of the stream, we're going to donate $250. If we can get 2,000 likes by the end of the stream, we're going to donate $500. So just so you guys know, that's what we're doing. I can't believe I forgot to mention that off the top of the show, but there you go.
That's directly out of Ray's paycheck.
And it comes directly.
My last paycheck.
We're funding that. We got to fund it somehow. Okay, guys, with that down, let's do one more off the top, and that is this. For the last couple of weeks, we've been talking about a really horrible, I was going to say Halloween trailer, but a horrible trailer that has come out about the Munsters. And of course, Rob Zombie did it. We've been talking about that. But there's another show that's kind of been developing alongside of it. And, Rob Zombie actually directly referenced it when they put out their Munsters trailer. And that is Tim Burton's Wednesday, which is, of course, an Addams Family kind of reboot or relook, if you will, at that. And I admit, I'm not the biggest Tim Burton fan. There's certainly a couple of his films that I'm a big fan of, but I'm not as zoned into his style, say, as Schnepp was. Schnepp totally loved his stuff. I wasn't quite there on that. So I didn't know what I thought about this, but according to a bunch of the outlets, they've just released a bunch of the first new images for this show. And I got to tell you, first of all, Catherine Zeta-Jones.
Come on.
I think we all knew she was going to look perfect for this, right? I think we all knew that in advance. She looks great. The one casting I did not feel good about when I first heard of it was Luis Guzman, who I certainly like him in a lot of stuff, but I thought, do I see him as Gomez? I don't know that I see him as Gomez. And then I saw the images and I'm like, no, I see him as Gomez.
Oh, yeah.
I totally do. And actually, Jonathan, if you scroll down a little bit further,
no,
They've got other images. Where are they?
Just throw the mouse.
Oh, there they are. They got some other images. If you click on a couple of them, like that one looks great, but get to the one where he's like kissing her hand, that classic Addams Family kind of pose, right? I just could never picture Catherine Zeta-Jones and Luis Guzman, but I totally now do. The girl
I don't think
playing
Luis
Wednesday-
Guzman did either.
Yeah. The girl playing Wednesday looks great. The kid playing Pugsley looks great. And look, this isn't footage. This could be the worst thing ever produced. I don't know. But just based on the images that we're seeing, I gotta say, I really like what I see. Christian, you're taking a look at the images. What do you think about them? And have you had any excitement for this Wednesday show?
Excitement for it, no, but that's not to say that I don't think it could be great.
Right.
Because of what you said, I'm not a massive Tim Burton fan. However, there is certain stuff when he's in his lane, he's crushing.
Yeah.
This is in his lane. This is absolutely in his lane. This is perfect for him. And Luis Guzman, I think, is not what we recognize that we've been familiar with the character beforehand. But what a phenomenal actor he is to bring a new take would be absolutely. I'm excited for it because I think he's a great actor. I just recently, for some reason, went down a rabbit hole, started watching Carlito's Way again, which I love, and he's so good in that role. But anyway, so this is something I think Tim Burton will thrive in. This is a show that I think he should be doing. So I'm with these images, I am actually a little bit more excited than I was when previously announced.
Rob, you're taking a look at these images. What do you think about them? And where's your enthusiasm level like for Wednesday?
Well, I pretty much agree with Christian. I mean, when Tim Burton is in his lane, that's a great way of putting it. He usually does crush it. I mean, to me, growing up with the Munsters and the Addams Family, they were from a different time. I don't know how relevant they are to today because, they were play on the Universal classic monsters and that kind of a thing with Frankenstein and Lurch and vampires and all that. I mean, if it's like What We Do in the Shadows, which updates those classic tropes, if they can bring this into the modern age with a lot of modern humor, I could see it being a great show.
Well, remember, they did it in the 90s with the movies.
They did.
Too, so they were able to kind of moderate it for the 90s, so maybe they can moderate it for today.
Yeah, that's as long as there's something new. It looks great, though. I mean, I love looking at both Luis Guzman and Catherine Zeta-Jones, the kids, Wednesday and her brother. Perfect casting.
Yeah, it looks great.
It looks really good.
Now, here's the thing, too, because you talk about like the modernizing, because we just saw the trailer for the Munsters. Oof. And all other things aside, it was clear they tried to make it just like the Munsters, the way it was back then.
Right.
That doesn't work. So like, as you guys are sitting there talking about, they need to capture the nostalgia, but they also need to modernize it a bit and bring it into this year. The Munsters trailer kind of makes that really, really important.
Did they make the Munsters look like it used to be? When I saw that trailer, to quote, I said, it kind of looks like a porn without the fucking, and
We'll give it time.
And the thing was, like, the black and white stuff that they showed in that trailer was to me the thing that worked, and that was what you worked back in the past. So I don't know, but I think this is more on brand.
All right, guys. Question is for you. What do you think about these images for Wednesday? Surprisingly, I actually think they look really good. Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and leave your thoughts there. Okay, guys, we're going to move into our main topics here now. But before we do, we want to take a second and thank one of the sponsors of today's show, our friends over at Babbel. Hey guys, we want to take a second and thank the sponsor of this episode, Babbel. Now, as an Italian, did you guys know my real name is Giovanni? Anyway, as an Italian that doesn't actually speak a lot of Italian, I've always wanted to learn better Italian so I could converse with my Italian relatives. And that's where Babbel is a godsend. And for you guys, for all your summer travels, or whether you're going abroad or staying domestic and want to immerse yourself in the culture, now is the perfect time to start Babbel. Babbel is the language learning app that sold more than 10 million subscriptions. Thanks to Babbel's addictively fun and easy bite-sized language lessons, there's still time to learn a new language before you reach your destination. With Babbel, you only need 10 minutes to complete a lesson, so you can start having real-life conversations in a new language in as little as 3 weeks. Now, other language learning apps use AI AI for their lesson plans, but Babbel lessons were created by over 150 language experts. With Babbel, you can choose from 14 different languages, including Spanish, French, Italian, and German, and others. Right now, you can save up to 60% off your subscription when you go to babbel.com/Campea. That's babbel.com/Campea for up to 60% off your subscription. Babbel, language for life. And thank you to our friends at Babbel for sponsoring this episode of the John Campea Show. And remember, guys, you can find links to all of our sponsors and their promo codes down in the description of this video. And remember, when you support our sponsors, you're actually supporting us. So thank you guys so much for that support. Okay, let's now move on to our main topics here today. And how do we select our main topics on the show? Well, that's simple. That's where you guys come in, because you guys come up with our main topics. Whenever you guys see a big topic, issue, or story that you guys feel we need to cover as a main topic on the show, just go anytime 24/7 over to www.thejohncampeashow.com/contact. Once you guys get there, you're going to see a form. Fill it out with your topic or question. It's absolutely free. Hit submit, and then maybe, just maybe, you might see your submission featured as a main topic here on the John Campea Show. With that down, Rob, what is our first main topic today?
Well, John, our first main topic comes from Josh Nitkin, who says, I just read that there will be a new Saw film debuting in October of 2023. I love the original and thought the twist in the second one was even better than the first. The rest of the movies have been okay at best. Not sure how I feel about this news. I was wondering what your thoughts are. Thanks, and bring on the filthy.
Really? Saw 10? I listen, I kind of feel the way about the Saw franchise as I feel about the Scream franchise. I like the first one like everybody. And everything else after that was kind of drivel to me. I really didn't really enjoy any of the Saw films after the first one, where you had Dread Pirate Roberts in the first one there. Like that, well, that's still the best part about that movie to me. But I really liked the first one. But man, that whole concept got dragged out like a lot, to the point now that we're talking about 10. So is it the dumbest idea in the world? Not really. I mean, one of the most valuable things in entertainment right now is recognizable IP. Saw has that recognizable IP. And the Halloween franchise, sorry, going back to the other one, the Scream franchise just showed that you can come back to it maybe after it's already run out of steam and breathe some new life into it. And hell, I like the new Scream movie, and I haven't liked any of the other ones since the first one. So you come back to a recognizable name like Saw, you bring in one of the directors that the fans of the original franchise seem to like, and maybe you have like a new Scream situation where you can actually turn it into a modest little hit. This comes from the folks over at Variety who wrote the following. There's more Saw to cut through in 2023, as Lionsgate and Twisted Pictures have just announced the next installment of the billion-dollar franchise. That's billion-dollar when you add all 9 of them up. Will arrive with a new movie slated for October 27th, 2023, so just a little over a year away. This will be the 10th movie in the highly successful franchise. The film will be directed by Kevin, I'm not going to try to pronounce his last name, who helmed Saw 6 in 2009 and Saw the Final Chapter 2010, while serving as the editor for the first 5 installments and Jigsaw in 2017. So they're going back to the IP. They're going to go back to somebody who's a veteran of the series, worked on like 7 of the films, 2 of them as its director. You know what? Do I love this franchise? No. But do I think this is probably a pretty good move? Actually, yes. Rob, you hear about this? What do you think about coming back for Saw 10?
Well, I just hope they take a page from the Friday the 13th franchise. Jason X, John, they go to space. And what I'm thinking about is maybe this is set on a moon base, raid like that. But no, I mean, I actually think the first 3 Saw films work pretty well as a pretty great trilogy. I honestly do. I thought the first one, that was, of course, James Wan's first breakout feature. Lee Wanell wrote it. And that was sort of ground zero for the beginnings of their careers. And I think that the Saw franchise, I like it in theory because it plays in, but now they've tried to make it one long story. It was first Jigsaw, then it was the legacy of Jigsaw, then the legacy of Jigsaw.
I just remember after like Saw something, where I was like, how long is he going to be dying for?
And how many people are going to follow him? Yes. You know, there was that Kevin Bacon TV series, The Following.
Which I like that show, at least the first season or 2.
Yeah, it was pretty good. But this, again, space. I'm hoping for space. Maybe on the ISS when Tom Cruise is shooting his next movie there.
Chris?
As Chris.
Chris?
John, sorry.
It's like my
Yeah, we like
dad
to
and my
call you
mom
Chris
just showed
now.
up. As a nameless executive once said, what's the take? What's the cost? That's really going to be. What's your take on this thing? Like, if it's a good take, if it works out, Top Gun is an example of, granted, it's not 10 movies in, but it's years later. Can it, what was the take, right? What's the cost of it overall? I think that's going to be, can it make a profit on side of the 10? Because if it starts to add up in cost after a 10th movie of a franchise that's kind of run its course, if you will, then it's like maybe it's not worth it. But if you can make a profit on it, if there is an exciting new take that you could do. Now, to be fair, I've never seen a one of these movies out of all 10.
None of them.
Wow.
Maybe the first
not
one.
a one. I had friends that kept trying to say, watch it. You'll love it. You'll love the first one. Just one of those movies I never got around to seeing.
The first one is legitimately, for a low budget B movie,
Yeah, it's James
is
Wan.
actually really
Yeah,
good.
It's quite
James
good,
Wan.
actually.
And so that's the other thing. Juan has nothing to do with this, right?
No.
Right. So that's one of the things for me. I mean, even though I can't really reference it because I don't know it, but I would say that his involvement would be intriguing to me, but it's not there. Not to say this guy isn't. But I don't know. I think for the franchise, if it is a new take, if it's interesting, hey, maybe it's Saw in space with goats and chickens. Who knows? But whatever it might be, let's see what it is, and it probably makes sense.
All right, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? Are you a fan of the Saw franchise? Maybe you haven't been. Would you be intrigued by a new one? I got to admit, I at least a little bit am. Whatever you guys think, jump down into the comment section below and leave your thoughts there. Okay, guys, with that down, let's move on to main topic number 2. Rob, what is our second main topic
Our
today?
second main topic comes from Valentine 5 or V. Hey, John, like Black Adam and The Flash, it feels like 20 years ago they announced a Continental series was coming, but it looked like it's finally happening. I read on Variety that the series was now going to be on Peacock instead of Stars, and that Mel Gibson was going to be as one of the stars. Did we always know that, or is this new info? What do you think about this, and are you excited for the series? This, of course, John, is the John Wick TV series about the Continental Hotel.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, I remember it does feel like 20 years ago when they first announced that they were going to do it. And listen, I remember after watching John Wick for the first time, coming out and saying, I would love to know more about this whole mythology of this hotel system, the Continental. And as this John Wick franchise has gone on, they've gotten a little bit more into it. It's gotten a little silly at some point. Yeah, we're talking about John Wick, I know that. But whatever, I've always been interested in this, and to see a story about the Continental has been high on the list, but it's been years and years and years and years. But now, boom, they've got a release date. They've got a home for it now. This comes from the folks over at Screen Rant who wrote the following. The Continental is now set to debut on Peacock as Lionsgate has struck a deal with the streamer to debut exclusively on the platform in 2023. By the way, big win for Peacock on that. Kelly Campbell, president of Peacock and direct-to-consumer, said of the deal that by bringing this special event series to Peacock and putting the full power of NBC Universal behind it, the premiere of the Continental will be the streaming event of the year. A specific release date has yet to be revealed, but the Continental's 3-part event special series is expected in 2023, likely following on the heels of the release of John Wick Chapter 4, which is slated to be debuted in March 24th of 2023. Couple of interesting things there. Number one, that it is a 3-part limited series. So I'm going to go out on a limb and guess it's going to be minimum hour plus per episode. I don't think they're doing this with 25-minute episodes for 3 parts. So that's interesting. Number two, that we do have a 2023 release. I think they're right. It's probably, they're saying it'll be on the heels of John Wick 4. I wouldn't be surprised if they released it in like a February of 2024 to help promote John Wick 4 rather than using John Wick 4 to help promote the series. But we'll see which way they're going to go on this. Now, it's not going to have Ian McShane, but rather somebody playing a younger version of Ian McShane. So we know it's going to be set a little bit in the past. Mel Gibson is going to be one of the stars of the series, which I won't lie to you. I'm actually very intrigued by that. So that's pretty interesting to me. Listen, I've been wanting this series ever since the first John Wick came out. I'm excited about this. It's now tangible. We finally got at least a release window for it, for when it's going to come out. I think this is great. Christian, I know you've been a John Wick fan. Like, what do you think about Continental?
Brilliant idea. And I think that, so I've been pretty vocal in that I think a lot of times movies that are made movies could benefit on being a television show instead because of the development of characters. I don't feel that way about John Wick. I think John Wick, the movies are perfect as movies, and the 4 chapters, and I'm so excited for the 4th one. But the idea of the Continental and the inner workings and how that came to be, that is made for television. That is made for television. From the second they brought it up, I actually disagree in the fact that I think that they should put it after the movie comes out, because
I'm not saying they should. I'm just saying I won't be surprised if they did.
Sure. I think the only reason that they might do it afterwards is because if this was a first movie of John Wick, then I would say, yeah, you might need the show to help promote it.
That's true.
But this is a fourth movie in the franchise. People are excited.
Successful franchise.
Yes, a successful franchise that people are pumped about. So they might need the movie to promote the show
That's
more.
A good point.
So I think that this is a great idea. It's Peacock, as you said. Big win for them.
Yeah.
And this is a show that is a very highly anticipated show on my list.
And by the way, I don't think it's hyperbole when she said this could be the streaming event of the year. I mean, people have fallen in love with John Wick. Rob, you hear about this? What do you think?
Well, I think it's a great idea. Like Christian said, I mean, who doesn't love, one of the great things about the first John Wick movie is it could have just been a revenge fantasy. But when they bring you into the world of the Continental suddenly changed what you were watching. And created this mythology and this long-standing with their rules and things that you couldn't do.
And all
the high
stuff.
table and all that. It was one of the most fascinating things about the John Wick movies, and we've seen that there's a network of these things around the world. And I love this idea. And because they're making John Wick 4, they probably availed themselves of using the sets or maybe shooting concurrently or something, or even having some kind of crossover somehow. I think it's a great idea, and it's a long time coming. And having, if Mel Gibson plays an assassin or plays an Ian McShane type character, I'm all for that because I'm a huge Mel Gibson fan, and I just think there's everything about this sounds great. Bring it on,
guys. Question is for you. What do you think about this? We now finally have a release window for the Continental series. We got a little bit more information about it. What do you think about it? Are you looking forward to it? Maybe you haven't even watched the John Wick films. Whatever you guys are feeling, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, we're going to take another second here and thank another sponsor of today's video, our friends over at Upside. We want to take a moment and thank the sponsor of this episode, Upside. Guys, from cringing at the pump to getting an eye-popping check at your favorite restaurant, inflation is hitting us all where it hurts, and it really hurts. And that's why I started using Upside. Upside is an incredible app for anybody who buys groceries, gas, or dines out. With every purchase, you are earning cash back thanks to Upside. And guys, believe me, I know. You hear about apps like this, and it turns out you have 40 or 50 hoops you have to jump through, but believe me, Upside is super easy to use. I know it sounds too good to be true, but it's not. I've used it and it works. Upside is a no-brainer. To get started, download the free Upside app. Use my promo code Campea Show and get $5 or more cash back on your first purchase of $10 or more. Next, claim an offer for whatever you're buying on Upside, check in at the business, pay as usual with a credit card or debit card, and get paid. In comparison to credit card rewards or loyalty programs, you can earn 3 times more cash back with Upside. So guys, download the free Upside app and use the promo code Campea Show to get $5 or more cash back on your first purchase of $10 or more. That's $5 or more cash back on your first purchase of $10 or more using the promo code Campea Show. And a big thank you to our friends at Upside for sponsoring this episode of the John Campea Show. All right, guys, with that down, let's move into our third main topic today. Rob, what is our third main topic today?
Well, John, our third main topic comes from our friend Ismael Montoya. Hey, guys. Well, it seems that we're in for a real treat with She-Hulk. Marvel released the first 4 episodes of the series, well, to critics, and most people say it's awesome. What are your thoughts about this, and are you guys excited for She-Hulk? Laters, and bring on the filthy.
All right, thanks a lot for sending that in, Ishmael. And just a reminder that tomorrow on the John Campea Show, we are going to be doing our pregame show for the first episode of She-Hulk. That'll be tomorrow at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time as we race into the debut episode at midnight tomorrow night, midnight Los Angeles time, 3 a.m. on Thursday for you guys. So make sure you join us for that. All right, look, I was at D23 when they made the announcement of, well, a whole bunch of stuff. They announced that they were going to do a Ms. Marvel, which turned out to be, I think besides WandaVision, the best thing they put on Disney+. I love that show a lot. Where they announced Moon Knight. I liked Moon Knight. I didn't love it. A little bit disappointed by it. And a whole slew of other things. But one of the things they announced was She-Hulk. And listen, number one, I never thought She-Hulk was something they would do. And the other thing is, I kind of don't like derivative characters. Like I've said this before, right? Like you got Flash, You got to have Kid Flash. You got to have Batman. You got to have Batgirl. Or, I don't really like derivative characters all that much. That doesn't mean they can't work, though. So I was intrigued. Then I kind of got a little bit excited when they announced that good Canadian girl, Tatiana Maslany, got cast in the lead role. I'm like, all right, that's okay. Then we heard Mark Ruffalo was actually going to be. I'm like, okay, that sounds interesting. But from day one, Rob, when I walked out of that D23 thing, I said, if they can kind of make this like a legal comedy, kind of like in the vein of an Ally McBeal, then this could be something that could be pretty fun and pretty special. And everything we've heard about this thing since has been, this is kind of like a Marvel version of Ally McBeal, which is exactly music to my ears and what I've been wanting to hear. Now, initial reactions that you hear from people sometimes skew a little bit more positive than when their full thoughts come out, but we've seen a number of things recently where the initial reactions have not been so good on a lot of things. But it's important to note that a bunch of people had a chance to see the first 4 episodes, not the whole series, but the first 4 episodes of She-Hulk, and pretty much in unison, the response has been extremely positive. So we'll open up the Campea Classroom for a second. I just pulled a whole bunch of them out here. This is what a bunch of people had to say. The Direct's Pamela Gores writes, She-Hulk Attorney at Law perfectly brings Jennifer Walters' courtroom antics to Disney+. Tatiana Maslany is comedic gold. Viewers are going to love her. The MCU feels super interconnected again, and cameos and other info we get about the post-Endgame universe. As for cameos, buckle up. It's a circus. Wong will likely be a fan favorite, as usual. Phase 4 really is Wong's phase. Abomination brings 08's Incredible Hulk full circle. Oh, and make sure to watch each episode to the end. Surprises await. Our friend Eric Davis over at Fandango, he wrote, Marvel's She-Hulk Attorney at Law is a very funny legal procedural that is lighter on action but heavy on breaking the fourth wall. This is the most self-referential the MCU has ever been. Cameos and references galore, plus A+ Dynamite. Tat probably meant either Talent or Tatiana. The Laughing Place outlet writes, She-Hulk Attorney at Law is absolutely hilarious. The new series is completely original and not at all what you expect from the MCU. Tatiana Maslany shines as Jennifer Walters. It has a lot of heart and a great story, but mostly it's going to make you laugh a lot. Meredith Loftus writes, I have seen the first 4 episodes of She-Hulk Attorney at Law, and to me, it delivers on its premise. A lawyer show with genuine laughs. At its core, Tatiana Maslany commands the screen with her wit, persona, and remarkable humor, as Canadians do, especially for women in their late 20s and early 30s. Comicbook.com's Brandon Davis writes, She-Hulk has hilarious, chaotic energy. It's one of the most entertaining 4-episode starts I've ever watched. Straight up hilarious often, and sometimes a little too silly for me. It's pure fun. Jen Walters is awesome. I want more episodes ASAP. Also for comicbook.com, Jenna Anderson writes, I've now seen the first 4 She-Hulk episodes 3 times, and they're everything I want them to be, and so much more. The show is breezy, unabashedly weird, and wildly entertaining. This sets a new gold standard for what the MCU shows are capable of. Just a couple more here. I'm going to skip over another one of the directs. It's just more glowing stuff. I'll go down to I don't know. Hollywood Reporter raves about it. Screen Rant raves about it. Cosmopolitan raves about it. Got to watch the first 4 episodes of She-Hulk, and it's honestly a fun breath of fresh air that has long been needed in the MCU. Tatiana Maslany finds a nice balance in the character. She figures out her new identity, and the show is full of lovely and hilarious surprises. That being said, there's still some more that is yet to be revealed that makes me wonder how the show will shift in the second half. Basically on and on and on. It's just, this show's hilarious. It's actually got some heart, a lot of cameos. Also, by the way, I just want to kind of point out, Canadians are kind of ruling the MCU right now with Simu Liu, Tatiana Maslany.
Reynolds is coming back.
Reynolds is coming back. Ms. Marvel. Why am I freezing on Ms. Marvel's name? Again, I was just talking about her. Anyway, the girl's Miss Marvel. It's Canadians everywhere in the MCU.
Iman?
What's that?
Iman? Or
yes, something. That's her last name. I can't remember. Yeah. I can't remember her last name now. At any rate, it's just raving about this thing. And here's the thing for me, why I get excited about that, as somebody who wasn't very excited about when they first announced it, is when they announced it, I made some check boxes. Well, if they did this, I would kind of like to see this and this and this and this. And while as fans, we shouldn't expect all of our boxes to be checked because it should allow us to be surprised, it's checking every box I had in my own little fan fantasy head. So I got to admit, I'm pretty excited. And when they released that one clip the other day, where you actually see the Grandmaster's ship, or at least one of his ships, fly down. I mean, that's pretty exciting to see. Now, Christian, I want to go to you because you are one of the people who saw the first 4 episodes.
Yeah.
Now, it's still under embargo.
embargo, yeah.
You can't say a lot, but what is your basic general impression of what you saw?
So let me start by saying, as the same with you, I did not love the trailers. I thought the CGI was going to be an issue for me. And the reason why I didn't love the trailers is because I'm not a big Thor Love and Thunder fan. I thought it was more of a sketch comedy show than anything else. And I like it when it has balance. So I was worried about that because it was pitched as a full comedy. And people were, well, that's what the comics are like. And I was like, yeah, but I want it to have balance. I want it to have heart. After everything that you read, I'm on board with every single thing that everyone said there. Like, and even
You enjoyed it.
I loved it. And it was my, out of the 4 big shows that are coming out, it was my least ranked. I loved it. And I was not expecting to. I went in, I said to Rob in the beginning, I went in like when you go to a comedy club and there's a talent agent that goes in there, they're going in with their arms folded going, okay, let's see how funny this person really is. And that was me for about 35 seconds. And then my arms went down because Tatiana Maslany is masterful in this show. Her chemistry with Ruffalo is off the charts. This show is so well written. Now, I do agree. There's a comment that I saw that it gets a little silly sometimes. I think more so in episodes 3 and 4, but it's so little because you're so invested in her and her story and the heart behind it. This is I think that everyone that needs to be commended is definitely Tatiana Maslany, but the writing on this show, I couldn't believe how funny it was, but also how much heart it had and how invested I was in Jennifer Walters and her journey.
What would you like? I'm hearing a lot of comments from the reactions saying, I'm hearing the word surprises a lot.
Yeah.
And for something that's kind of like a legal sitcom, I don't expect a lot of surprises. Is that accurate? Do you find yourself being surprised a lot?
Absolutely, because there's a blend between, that's my point, is that her journey as finding herself, her career, her life, and how to balance that now with the fact that she is the She-Hulk. And how do you do that? How do you combine that? The She-Hulk is obviously going to be able to infuse the Marvel Cinematic Universe in a clever way. And how do you do that, but still stay on course of her being this attorney? And why is she doing what she's doing? And does it make sense? And it does. And are there certain things like, I hope they don't go that route. And I did that once before. I was like, I hope they don't go that route. And they do. And I went, I understand why they went that route. I get with it. And there's a lot of meta humor in it. And there's a lot of stuff that goes after certain things that people, including myself, have said. And I was like, well done. Well done. It is, I couldn't, like, and again, if people are familiar with my channel or anything too, I've talked about the fact that, I don't know about this one, guys. And I was so shocked with how much I loved this show.
Let me ask you a really unfair question.
Sure.
And feel free to take a pass on because
Sure.
you've just watched it recently. And you've seen only an incomplete series because you've only seen the first 4 episodes. How would you say, with what you've seen so far, does She-Hulk rank with the other Marvel Disney Plus offerings we've had so far?
Well, I can obviously only rank, equate it to the first 4 episodes, but I will say, I'm going to say the first 2 episodes, right? The first 2 episodes are, if not that and Loki to me, the best written shows so far, if not the best written show, in the way that it plays everything together. 3 and 4 take it down just a notch for me. Just a notch, but I want to see where it goes. I want to see how it plays out. Like the last comment that you read before, I can really rank it, but It's one of the best starts for sure. Out of 4 episodes, it's one of the best starts out of all the Marvel shows.
And one of my comments about a lot of the Disney Plus Marvel shows has been strong starts, sometimes peter out a little bit. So let's see what happened with She-Hulk. Rob, I know you were more invested in this from the day that they announced this. You had a lot of excitement about this.
I did.
As somebody who's been enthusiastic about this, hearing these reactions, what's your takeaway from this?
Well, I think it's fulfilled the promise of what I'd hoped it would be when I first heard it announced. A year ago, there's a friend of mine who was working on the LA shoots for this and told me a little bit about their approach. I'm like, oh, they are leaning into exactly what I wanted, because I talked yesterday about the mid-'80s comedic version of Justice League, the comic, Justice League or Justice League International, that I loved. In the wake of that, John Byrne did this run on She-Hulk that broke the fourth wall, where she spoke directly to the comic book readers, and she was talking about John Byrne himself, and it was very interesting. It was very meta, and it was very funny. And I really liked that. And I thought, if they do a She-Hulk show, are they going to lean into that? Are they going to do that? And I thought if they did do that, it would kind of fit along, they're always doing different genres of things. Marvel, whether it's a heist thriller, whether it's a 70s conspiracy movie. And I'm like, if this goes into the sort of breezy legal drama that an Ally McBeal is, but at the same time, it can still be dramatic. Where you go into the practice with an Alan Shore and a Denny Crane. There's a way, there's a genre of show they could make this, and apparently they have, and yet it's still a legitimate MCU show at the same time. So again, it's all about the writing, and hearing you say that the writing is good, because a show like this could have been really terrible.
Oh, it could go off the rails 1,000.
It could have gone off the rails.
I was expecting that. I'm honest. I was expecting it, and I shouldn't have. And it was unfair, but because of what it turned out to be,
yeah. And there's a lot of people that are. I hear a lot of people complaining, like, well, it's another female-based show, but I'm like, but this character has decades of history.
Yeah.
And she's been in the Avengers, she's been in the Fantastic Four, in the comics. And I've always liked Jennifer Walters as a character. And I especially really loved her when John Byrne both drew her and then did her own book. And I'm excited, man.
But that's my point of what you just said there too, how there was complaints about it's another female-based show. They go after it. They go after that, and but they do it in a way that's not like, sure, it's going to piss some people off, but they also do it in such a clever way that I even said in one of the things that in my non-spoiler, I'm just like, you got to, even if you're one of these people that just want to hate on, you got to respect that was a good one, right? like that type of stuff. Like they do it throughout the show, and it's just like, oh, it's like the way it's crafted and put together. It's well done.
Well, I've gone from being really interested in the show to being excited about now other stuff that I'm here. So, guys, the question is for you. What do you think about it? Tomorrow's game day, and I cannot wait to watch this thing now. So how are you feeling about it? Whatever your thoughts are, jump down to the comment section below and leave your thoughts there. All right, guys. With that down, let's move into our fourth and final main topic today. Rob, what is our fourth main topic today?
Well, John, our fourth comes to us from Ernie H. Hi, John and crew. Love the show. Well, it looks like the Ezra Miller fiasco is going in a more positive direction, as Variety has announced that Ezra finally apologized and will go into mental health treatment. I'm very glad that they're getting the help they need, but do you think this is an indication that Warner Brothers Discovery will now allow Ezra to promote The Flash after treatment? And can we finally get some more positive buzz for the movie? Thanks for all that you do.
All right. Thanks a lot for saying that in, Ernie. And look, what have we been saying for 2 years? That we all really hope that despite the circus this whole thing has been and all that kind of stuff. But bottom line is we've all been saying we really hope at some point Ezra Miller gets some help. Like we've all been saying that. And now here it is. The day has come. Ezra Miller has put out a statement finally addressing the behavior we've been watching, unfortunately, for the last couple of years, and addressing where they're at right now. This comes to us from the folks over at Variety, who wrote the following about the situation. In a statement provided to Variety by a representative of the actor, Miller broke their silence about the troubling behavior that they have exhibited in recent years, which has led to a series of legal issues, assault, and abuse allegations. Miller also apologized for their actions. Having recently gone through a time of intense crisis, I now understand that I am suffering complex mental health issues and have begun ongoing treatment, Miller says. I want to apologize to everybody that I have alarmed and upset with my past behavior. I am committed to doing the necessary work to get back to a healthy, safe, and productive stage in my life. And that, of course, comes to us from Variety. Now, of course, when a statement like that comes out, a lot of people's first reaction, and it's understandable, it's totally understandable, is, well, they're just saying that because they got to say it. And that's true. But, we were talking before the show. I said, I think a lot of people in their lives, when they get to a point that they really need some professional help, when they do, or when they finally make apologies to the people in their lives, probably a lot of times that's motivated by the fact that they're facing some major consequences if they don't. And I'm actually okay with that. I don't care what taxi brings you to the airport, as long as you get on the plane. That's all I really care about. And all we have really wanted to see for the past couple of years is to see Ezra Miller actually get some help. Now, this does not release Ezra Miller from consequences of their past behavior. I don't think this fundamentally changes the situation with Flash, which is what we're obviously more concerned about as a movie show. But I think it is, regardless how genuine, ingenuine, whatever, it's a positive step. We're in a better place today than we were yesterday. And I think that's a positive thing. Regarding the question about, do I think this means that Warner Brothers will be able to have Ezra Miller promote this film? My initial reaction to that is no. I still don't think you can bring Ezra Miller out on a press junket. Quite frankly, I don't even think you can do a press junket for Flash, because regardless of who's in the chair, that's all people are going to be asking about. I don't even think you can do a premiere with this thing. That being said, it is about another year until the movie comes out, right? Yep. And emotional wins amongst the audience can shift over times like that. Not overnight, but it is a year away. So I'm going to say I doubt it, but it's possible. So let's revisit that a little bit later. Do I think this could mean that Ezra Miller could go on and be the Flash again? I don't think there's any chance in the seventh level of hell. I really don't think there's any chance of that. I think Ezra Miller is done being the Flash once this movie is out. That's fine. The question becomes, can Ezra Miller regain something of a career after all this is done? The jury's out on that. We'll have to see. One thing we know that the audience loves is a comeback story. So, I mean, that's totally possible. What really becomes a question now is, that's great. Apology made. For whatever their motivation is to make it, we've wanted them to make it, they made it. Getting help, for whatever their motivation is for getting help, at least they're getting it. The question becomes, is this the end of the story? Or do we find out in 3 months that, Ezra Miller threw a puppy through a window? I mean, I don't know. If this is the end of the story, good things can happen in the next year. But that's going to be the $1 million question. Anyway, Rob, you've been following the story with me for years now. This is where we wanted it to be. We wanted it to come to a place where statements are made, help is being sought. How do you feel about it right now?
I mean, I think it can only be a good thing. I've known people that have engaged in a spiral of self-destructive behavior.
I think we all have.
And a lot of the time, there's a reason behind it that you don't necessarily know. You only see the behavior and like, what the hell's going on? When really there's underlying things that we might not have even known. Personal matters, health matters.
Well, what's that saying we always say? Everybody is fighting a battle that you don't know anything about.
Absolutely. And whatever's going on here, I mean, I am a huge fan of Ezra Miller's as a performer. I've been watching them for a long time. I mean, we talk about Perks of Being a Wallflower. We need to talk about Kevin.
Yeah.
And there's other films. They also have another film coming out that's going to be at Toronto, I think. It's debuting there that isn't The Flash, that no one's really talking about. But I think they're a very gifted performer, and I would hate to see a promising career derailed by, and let's face it, these are some shenanigans. I mean, there's a lot of weird stuff going on here, but there's also, it also seems a little strange. I mean, they're not exactly a Bond villain, and yet they've been portrayed that way in the press. I think in the long run, this could only be the beginning of something better and beneficial for them. And I think at the end of the day, that's all that really matters. I mean, look, I'll be honest, as a selfish movie fan, I want to see The Flash.
Me too.
I want to see it. I want to see Michael Keaton as Batman. I want to see new Supergirl. I do. But what's really more important is to have a human being get the help they deserve to get.
Right. And again, and none of us are saying getting help is great. None of us are saying up here that they won't still have to face consequences. Like there's some like shenanigan stuff, totally but and there's stuff like the grooming of a young girl
and yet to be
like
determined shenanigans.
Yeah,
right?
And yet to be determined stuff that who knows what we're going to find out later. But let that shake itself out later. I mean, just that we're in a state that we're in right now. Anyway, Christian, you've been following the story. Obviously, it's hard not to when you got such a high-profile, expensive film like The Flash out here. What do you think about what we're seeing right now?
Oh man, there's so much involved in it because I couldn't agree with Rob more on a lot of what you just said. And the first part is from the second Ezra Miller was having these issues, I had said I understand if people are upset. And I understand if people are saying that they should be recast, and I get it. But this is also a human being that we should look at and say, what is going on here? Mm-hmm. Are the people around them looking at them and saying, you need help? And yet, nothing was happening. And Warner Brothers wasn't making a statement. And everything, and it just kept getting into more and more trouble every week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and we kept seeing it. So it's like, okay, you're right. It is most important that they're getting help. There's no argument. You're also right that people rightfully are going to go, okay, but why did this happen?
For sure.
Now, it's great that it happened, but the problem that I look at is the report that you just did not 4 days ago. Here are the three options that are probably going to happen. Option 2, 3, but option 1, Ezra Miller's going to come out and say, what they said today. So it was telegraphed that this was going to happen.
Yeah.
So that you have to go, okay, well, as you said, it doesn't matter how, but it happened. Now, as far as Flash goes, I also agree that in 7-8 months, you look at the way that the world is in general, we are damning people, but we are also forgiving people. So if Ezra Miller can stay out of trouble,
That's a big if.
that's a huge if, then maybe they can be redeemed and can stay as Flash. However, I think it is too risky for Warner Brothers to go along with that. I don't think that their career should be done, and I think that they will come back. I also agree with you. I think this has to be the end of Ezra Miller's run of Flash.
I
It's
think
just
that
too
well's
risky.
poisoned now, right?
It's too risky.
Ezra Miller as Flash, that is just, even for Ezra, I think if you're Ezra and you want to rehabilitate your image, you need to move away from Flash now, because that you as
What's going to happen? One of these three is going to happen, and option one happened.
Anyway, guys, the question is for you. What do you think about this whole situation? I mean, what we've all been saying for 2 years that we want to happen just happened. So how do we feel about it now? There's obviously different things, and there's a lot of different variables that could come into play moving forward. However you guys feel about it, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys, with that down, we're now going to open up the super chats on our page here, because we're going to head into now to hearing your live comments and questions. If you have a thought, opinion, theory, observation, question, whatever, now is your time to fire it on in, and we will address those as we get into the second half of the show. But before we address those, we want to take a second and thank another sponsor of our films. Again, they've got you by the short and curlies, but in a good way. Our friends at Manscaped. We want to take a second to thank the sponsor of today's video, Manscaped. Now, guys, you know I love Manscaped. You've heard me go on and on about the Lawnmower 4.0 and that body wash. I love it so much. And so we got to ask, guys, have you started your spring cleaning yet? The carpets need cleaning, the drapes need dusting, and your lawn needs mowing, gentlemen. And you guys know Manscaped is more than just one product. They have a whole lineup of products to help you guys feeling, smelling, and looking your best. And so Manscaped is proud to present to you the Performance Package 4.0, which is the only tool that you need to keep your boys looking, smelling, and feeling good this spring. Now, to start off with, you get the Lawnmower 4.0. Guys, we have talked about this. What is wrong with us? Why have we for so long been using these terrible tools that were never meant for cutting our hair down there? The razor clipper things on our electric razors. That's barbaric, guys. You need the Lawnmower 4.0. And then there's the Weed Whacker. You guys have heard our own Ray Ora talk about this thing. He loves using it to get that hair in your nose and the ear hair. And then they offer lots of other stuff like the Crop Preserver. It's an anti-chafing ball deodorant and moisturizer. The Crop Reviver. It's a spray-on toner for your balls. And of course, they've got the perfect grooming tool for your face with the Plow 2.0, the perfect razor for the finest shave on that face. So guys, get 20% off plus free shipping with the code CAMPEA. That's CAMPEA at manscaped.com. That's 20% off and free shipping with the promo code Campea at manscaped.com. It's time to throw out your old hygiene habits and upgrade your life. And a big thanks to our friends at Manscaped for keeping us cool and comfortable when the weather gets hot. All right, guys, speaking of hot, let's go over to Ray Ora now, because he's got some questions from our beloved channel members. Ray, what are our members saying?
Collins E says, I'm glad Ezra is finally seeking help. However, they still need to be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. I still really want to see the Flash, however.
Well, I mean, let's be very clear here about some things. Like, while a lot of stuff has been reported, and we've talked about it ad nauseum on this thing, there's been limited legal movement on that, and limited things that have been actually proven, or limited things. Remember, for a lot of the stuff, it's still at the level of allegation. There are certainly some things that were caught on video that they're going to have to answer for it. And again, these are all consequences that will still need to come. But, you know, we just need to be happy that they're in a place that they are right now, at least. All right, what's next?
Okay. Bamaham Yum writes, the Better Call Saul finale was one of the finest television endings I've ever seen. I can't think of a better way they could have capped off the Breaking Bad Better Call Saul storyline.
Listen, I have not watched beyond the first couple of seasons, not because I didn't like it, just because I accidentally fell off of it. I just never got back on. But I've been hearing from a lot of people saying this is better than Breaking Bad.
Whoa.
So have you been following Better Call Saul?
Same as you. Breaking Bad is one of my favorite shows of all time. So it's almost like sacrilege the fact that I started the first like 3 episodes whenever it was and loved it. I just never got back to it.
I am exactly like you.
I have to go back to it. I want to go back to it, and I hear exactly what you're saying, John, that people are just raving about it and that it was a phenomenal ending.
Are you talking about the first 3 episodes of the actual show or this season?
Season 1.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, me
Same here.
season 1 too. And I have
here.
to say, with
I got through
Breaking
the first
Bad,
couple of seasons.
I
Oh,
did
you
this.
did, okay.
I did the same thing with Breaking Bad. And then I went and bought the 50-gallon oil drum Blu-ray set.
Oh, wow.
And I binged the entire show. And I was like, this is one of the greatest things I've ever
Breaking
seen.
Bad. Yeah.
And I'm going to do the same thing with Better Call Saul.
Same.
All right, what's
All
next?
right. Nariman writes, just want to say, love you guys. The show gives me so much joy, and it's fun seeing Christian Harloff on here hanging out with you guys.
Oh, thank you, man. And it's good to be here. It's always great when Christian has time to make the drive out here. I mean, he's a busy guy, and it's just awesome when he has time to get out here to join us as well. So thank you so much for that, dude. All right, what's next?
Liam O'Toole writes, John, I love your comments on fandom. I live in Ireland and can't discuss media online without being dragged into U.S. political debates. But today restores hope. Big thing times the John Campea Show is awesome.
Nice. That's my show.
That's Christian's show. Also known as Christian Harloff's show.
Yes.
Again, listen, I just think there's 2 basic principles for me when it comes to fandom. Number one, what John Schnepp always said, fandom is about celebrating the things we love. And when we come across things we don't like, say we don't like it, say why, and then move on to talk about things you do like. I just think that's the basic principle of a healthy fandom. So, I mean, not everybody agrees, and, well, they are who they are. All right, what's next?
The Richard writes, aloha, filthies. I'm more a fan of Eli Roth's Hostel 1 and 2. I love the business elements. The special features are almost as good as TCM. What are your thoughts? Also, the Monsters Forever.
I like Eli Roth, and I really like a lot of people, I was shocked by the first Hostel.
Yeah, I walked out of the theater.
Really? I can imagine you walking out,
Yeah, because that was a different level of, especially the ankle thing. I walked out on the ankle.
Because you know what he walked out on?
Smurfs.
Jackass.
Oh.
Because like some of the stuff was like, looked so painful. He literally got up. I was like, nope. He got up out of his seat and walked out.
I don't see how males could watch someone's balls getting crunched by a pogo stick. That's not fun to me.
It's funny.
You don't feel that? I feel it. So
when the UFC heavyweight champion,
that's the
though,
best.
came walking out, we knew that the skit was him to get a Saul punch the balls. Like he comes walking around the corner, and Ray's like, nope. Right? I'm like,
anything
nope,
with
I'm
balls,
watching
man,
this.
don't do it. Just don't do it. Okay.
All right, what's next?
Groovy Don't Play writes, hey friends, fall was excellent. Next up is Emily the Criminal. Can't wait for the invitation. August is not a dead month if you look closer.
Listen, the invitation actually has my attention. It really does. So I don't know. We'll see.
It looks good.
I mean, because that's one with Ray Fiennes, yes?
I think that's the menu.
You're right. That's the menu. Sorry, that's the menu. Which one is the invitation?
The invitation is the one where they go to like the wedding or something at this big
the
English
vampire
manor.
one.
The
The
looks
vampire
like, yeah,
one.
the
Yes, yes, yes.
vampire.
You
Which,
know what?
either way, I'm in.
And we were in the theater. I can't remember what Ann and I were watching, but we're in the theater and the trailer for that plays. And like halfway through, she leans over and she goes, "This looks good." And then the trailer continued, and it's like they just showed us
whole thing.
every plot point right up to the end. They literally show us what I feel like was the ending scene. So I mean, I don't know. So we'll have to see about that one. But the menu is the one I'm more, and I'm actually kind of excited about Beast.
Yeah, I am too.
I'm a huge fan of Ghost in the Darkness with Val Kilmer and Michael Douglas. I love that movie. And this feels like kind of another take on that.
So none of you guys are interested in watching Fall? I actually really wanted to watch that
It's
this
the one
weekend.
with
I still do.
They're on the like 1,000-foot tower. The
2,000-foot tower.
Is that
Like two girls
2,000-foot
get stuck
tower?
up there.
Oh, okay.
It looks terrifying. It looks good.
Wait a minute, Taylor, did you watch that?
Yeah.
You did. Did you like The Fall?
Way better than Bodies.
So okay, that's right. So yeah, that's right. This was better than Bodies. Okay, I'm gonna check it out. All right, what's next?
I Talk Marvel 227 writes, hey guys, keep up the great work on the content. I'm excited to see what's to come from you guys with all the announcements you've made.
Oh, thank you so much for that, man. We appreciate that. And thank you for supporting our show, dude.
And then we got one more. Jeff Yerke gifted 5 John Campea membership.
Oh, thank you, man. That's
cool.
It's always so cool when people actually just give those out to their fellow viewers. So thank you so much.
The
for
Yerk
that,
man and Mrs. Yerke are longtime watchers of our
Are they?
channels. Yes.
Very cool. Thank you so much, man. All right. Well, with that stuff down from our members, let's now move over to the super chat. So, Rob, what do we got?
Well, Stephen Darren Holt sent in a super chat. So
Just to
thank
be
you for the
supportive,
support.
thank you, Stephen.
Anubis Genocide, 1 of 2, says, "Hi, John. Any chance you'll do a post show or a Campea After Dark for when you finally get around to seeing RRR?"
Is there a part 2 to that?
see.
I feel like sometimes it'll say 1 of 2, but it fits it into one.
You,
And that was
that
a,
was-
oh,
Oh, there it was. Number 2, I'm about as anticipated for your opinion of RRR as I am for hopefully seeing Bane get his pasta maker back in Harley.
You hacked my pasta maker. This Bane, like right now, Bane is the funniest character on TV on Harley Quinn. Just gonna say that. Okay, so the last 3 days I had to watch Secret Headquarters and Day Shift because we had to review them yesterday, and then last night I had to watch Edge of Tomorrow again because we're doing our movie club for it today. But as soon as I was done, walked out, and Ann said, "Okay, tomorrow we are watching RRR." So later tonight, I am going to be watching RRR.
It's 3
Fine.
hours, just so you know.
I know. That's
I haven't
that's.
heard a negative thing about that movie.
I haven't heard a single bad thing
just
about
heard
it.
how great it was. You loved it?
I loved it.
Yeah.
You're going to have a lot of
I heard
fun.
it was great.
I heard it was really, really good. So finally tonight, so probably it'll be on a Campea After Dark. We're not going to take a segment to talk about because the movie's been out forever. But yes, I will find a way in an avenue to give my thoughts on it. All right, what's next?
Ryan Lohner says, post-credit scene for The Last She-Hulk.
Never mind. Just move on. Just move on.
Oh, I think he's just... What do you mean?
no,
my
no,
outfit?
no.
Well,
It's not a spoiler.
It's a joke.
It-
Oh,
Make a joke.
okay,
He goes,
okay, okay.
There's no way
What
to
do you
know it.
mean my outfit is yellow?
Yeah.
Get it?
it's
Because
stuff-
Matt's blind.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, what's next?
Jay Bling sends in a super chat and says, I've decided to start writing my first screenplay.
Nice. Good for you, man.
It's just for fun, as I've no intention of it to be made, but it's so gratifying to get ideas on the page and lose track of time
Here's
in the process.
why I love it when movie fans do this. Number one, it gets you more engaged and involved with the object of your fandom, like movies, stuff like that. And number two, it gives you a great new perspective and appreciation for how hard it is and the work that good screenwriters do. I know when I made my first movie, The Anniversary, which obviously is like better than anything Tarantino has made. No, I mean, listen,
Clearly.
it's a bag of crap, but for my standards, it was awesome and I'm super proud of it. But one of the best things that came out of that movie was it gave, as the writer, producer, director of the film, and I had legitimate SAG actors in all that kind of stuff. That single experience for me gave me the biggest new perspective on filmmaking and what people do and a bigger appreciation for it. So even just as a fan to sit down and just to write your own screenplay just for the exercise of it, I think that's awesome that you're doing. Rob, you've written many screenplays that have made it to screen. Like, what's that process like? And what kind of benefits do you get from that as a fan of material yourself?
Look, you know, I think it's beneficial. The process of creation at all is beneficial. It helps you organize your thoughts. You go through and you can refine your work. And even if you have no intention, our viewer said he has no intention of making the film, I still think the process, first of all, of starting and finishing a project,
it's
that
great,
alone
yeah.
is something that I find worthwhile. But, you know, and maybe you'll write that screenplay and go, you know what, I'd like to do something with this. I can't make this as a movie, but maybe I can turn it into a book.
Or maybe it'll inspire you to write your next thing. That might be better.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, creation at all, once you've made something, there's a gratification that no one can take away from you.
Right?
Oh, yeah. I just wanted to say that I heard Christian loves reading all screenplays, right?
I'll read yours. I'll read yours. Why I got fired today? By Ray.
All right. What's next?
Stop saying that, man. I'm about to stay here for lunch now.
Raymond Verada says, I can't remember seeing John Wick or the assassins travel between countries. Is there a door they go through or a special airport for assassins?
Yeah, this is unnecessary montage of
quite private,
boarding
man.
a plane and getting onto, unnecessary screen time. But they do get around pretty fast, though. They seem to get from one country to the next pretty fast. All right, what's
There's
next?
the Continental Airlines that they use.
Yes.
Andy sends in a super chat and says, "Hey, Christian, always happy to see you again. Can you tell us what you think of Manscaped using your Arnold Schwarzenegger impersonation?"
It was fantastic. I have to be honest with you. Sometimes I get a little hairy down there, and they say, "Hey, I use the Campea code, and whether or not I can take a nose clipper and put it." And I have a donkey, I have a whiskey, a lulu, a donkey, and a horse. And sometimes I use the shaver and they go back and forth, and I just keep on taking them. And sometimes they have the nice stuff and smell you real nice, and you put it on your hair, and they say, "Come on, you do it." And then they say to me, "What would you like afterwards? Would you like some milk?" And I say, "No, milk is for babies."
Men drink beer.
It's an actual quote from Arnold.
It is from Pumping Iron.
Yes, but Joe Manganiello had told me a story where he had said to Arnold, "Hey, you want me to get you some milk? We're on Sabotage. You want me to get you some milk?" And he goes, "Milk is for babies." But
All right, what's next?
That's got to be clipped out into its own thing.
Yeah.
Amin says, "Christian, whenever I see you on the show, it just makes my day that so much better. A surprise to be sure, but a welcome one. Hope to see you more."
all I can say to that is, stay tuned.
Hey. Is there something I don't know about?
Yes, I'm going to be hanging out. I'm going to be hanging out in the back curtain like John Lovitz. He's losing his mind. And I'm reaping all the benefits.
More about
who's
the
gonna-
show than we do.
Yeah, it's true.
Who's going to deal with the chat if Ray's gone? You gotta have to.
That's all. That's what I'm
know
doing.
what?
Yeah. Hey, you're the one that said I wasn't employed. Not anymore.
Oh my God. All right. By the way,
I've been
Breaking
filling in
news.
applications this whole
breaking
time.
news.
Yeah.
Director of Air Force One outbreak enemy bind.
Wolfgang Peterson.
That's but Wolfgang Peterson has passed away.
There's it like every day.
Never ending
Jeez.
story.
Look, we don't have time to go into that right now. This is obviously going to be something we will talk more in depth about tomorrow. But I just saw that just came across my newsfeed there. So, yeah, I mean that's man. I love Outbreak.
I do too.
love that
Get
movie.
off my plane of
Air
existence.
Force One.
Well, it's never ending story, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Anyway, we'll talk more about that in depth tomorrow. Obviously,
In the Line of Fire.
Oh, I forgot about
Great.
that one.
So
Great
good.
movie.
All right, what's next?
Dante Streccia says, "Hey, crew, just a few awesome people I share a birthday with today. Madonna, who turned 64.
That's crazy.
James Cameron, who turned 68. Steve Carell is 60. Reginald Vell-Johnson, 70. And Taika Waititi is 47. Bring on the filthy."
The
Happy
40-year-old
birthday.
virgin is 60.
Wow.
But you know that okay, this sounds weird. We were watching The Office as we do like all the time, and then we saw the trailer for his new one where he's like a therapist and he gets held hostage, right?
Yeah.
It's like Steve Carell is one of these guys where he gets better looking with age.
Yeah.
Like you look, he's an awkward looking guy in The Office a bit, but then you look at him when he's got the gray, everything's like, that's a fucking handsome dude. Like that's a really
He's
good
got
looking
that
dude.
line, those locks. Get the Mark Riley hair.
Yeah.
Got that helmet. Yeah.
All right, what's next?
I think that
We
we
already
have
did that one,
scooched down. HV3 says, "Are you still considering changing the name of the show? Because I have a good idea for a new
great.
show name. The Bigger Thing."
Hey.
The bigger
Just
thing.
kidding, Harloff.
Yeah, I am still at some point going to change the name of the show. No, I am not asking for submission ideas. I seriously, I did that once. Say, yeah, guys, give me some ideas for shows. And like for 3 months, every day, 20 things. I think you should call the show this. It's like, okay, no more time out. Yeah, we are eventually going to change the name of the show. But it's not going to be imminent. So sometime in the next couple of months, we'll probably change
Jonathan
the name
Boyko show.
Boyko Show. All right.
Remember Ray?
Remember Ray.
Remember Ray? All right. What's next?
Yeah, man.
Josie Reviews says, "Went to see Coraline yesterday. Theater didn't have it programmed, and as they scrolled down the PPV section, we got into the naughty side, and kids probably went home with questions." Wow,
If you watch Coraline, you would probably also like Harry Twatter or like whatever.
You knew that way too fast.
Wow, dude.
Yeah, I watched it right after I watched Edward Penis Hands. True, real movie, by the way.
Woo, Mom, can we watch that?
What's next?
Penis hands.
Folly sent
Don't
in
Google it.
a super chat says, "I saw Nope and Bullet Train this weekend. Interesting galleries of characters. Who's your favorite one from each movie?"
Well, I mean, when you go to Brad Pitt is incredible in Bullet Train, but I loved the twins.
Yeah.
I loved the twins, and all the cameos are great. In Nope,
The brother, man. It has to be the brother. How cool he
Kiki was
is.
the sister.
Kiki was
He's-
great
no,
too.
man.
Yeah,
she
come
was
on.
pretty great.
Now, I gotta say, I didn't love the movie. I
Nope, yeah,
didn't
same.
love the movie,
Same.
but I did enjoy it. And it's, again, that classic, what is becoming that classic tension that he can bring to his movies was all there. But the performances in it were top notch. I mean, they were all really, really fun. All right, what's next?
Jai CSC says Disney dropped 450 million of Pixar films on Disney Plus. They lost 200 million, demoralized and devalued Pixar. Apples and oranges. But was Batgirl's cancellation worse than that?
No, because the Batgirl can't. Listen, this is going to be a divided idea for a long time, but history will show that the cancellation of Batgirl was the right move. If, and this is a huge if, that we will probably never know the answer to, if it was as bad as we heard it was. Listen, everybody, again, like I said, this whole thing reminds me, you weren't here for this, Christian, but I said, this whole situation of Batgirl reminds me of Bar Rescue, where like everybody says, hey, we want like a bar, and go, I want better results than what we're getting. And so they bring in that angry New Yorker Bar Rescue guy. And first thing he says, okay, you got to change this, this, and this. And the bar owner, it's the same thing every show. Bar owner's like, no, don't change anything. And that's what this is, right? Like everybody, movie fans are screaming, Warner Brothers, do better with the DC universe. Do better. Okay, if you want different results, you have to do things differently. And that means, because when Morbius came out, what did everybody say?
PU.
How did you release that?
Yeah.
How did you release that? When you saw how bad it was, how did you release that? Well, they looked at it and they said, we don't believe in this movie. And so instead of furthering the destruction of the reputation of DC movies, instead of lowering audiences' expectations about how good a DC movie can be, we've made the decision that we're not going to put it out. And it's a damned if you do, damned if you don't. You put out Morbius, people go, how could you possibly release that? They don't put out Batgirl, they go, how could you possibly not release that? I ultimately think it was the right decision, but Christian, you and I were talking before the show started. It won't really be for 3 years or more that we really know if this approach, like they had to Batgirl, cutting off the stuff that they think is going to devalue their IP, will work or not. Maybe it'll bite them in the ass. Maybe it'll turn out to be the greatest thing they've ever done.
You really won't know. And as I said, people, it's kind of, we're both joked about because like I have been pretty vocal in the fact that I call him Zoloft, because for me, what he does, if you look at it with Zoloft, what does it have? If it has a positive effect on you, it'll chill you out a little bit. It'll make better results down in the future. And that's the positive of Zoloft, right? The negative is it can make you anxious and everybody's it's not working for you and people are getting scared and frightened. And that's also happening with this guy. So he's Zoloft. But we're on the same page for what a lot of people don't realize. I think that if Batgirl was a bad movie and they didn't like it and they didn't think that it was a movie that they thought could further the DC universe, and let's call it what it is, they also got a tax credit for not putting on an HBO Max also.
Right, which they figured was the only way they could get some money back for it.
To get it back. That wasn't my issue. My issue was in the way that his bedside manner is awful. And I think you actually agree with that.
He's not, I would agree that he doesn't have the best bedside manner.
That's the problem.
He does have an axe.
He has an axe, but the problem is that if you swing that axe when you first come in, you're trying to get, and regardless if you're the guy on top, you still want to have good feelings with your new employees, the ones that you are keeping, and they're scared over there. And I've talked to Warner Brothers people who are there, and he's not beloved by them. They're scared of him. He's running
very demoralized.
Yes, and he's running by fear right now, and I don't think that's a good approach. I mean, I don't disagree with, look, we have a plan. We want to put a plan in. I'm all for a plan. I just think there's a better way for the way that he's doing it and still doing the same stuff, because I agree. And 3 to 5 years ago, look at all the moves this guy made. He did it right, but you're basically pissing on a lot of the work. He could have said very differently, and I know we have an opposing point of view here with Batgirl. Look, we looked at it. It doesn't fit into our current plan, so currently we have no plans of releasing it. And I know there was you said there was a report.
There was a little bit of a backlash
that said something. But again, if you say that, you get the creators behind you that are saying, okay, well, look, it sucks, but such is life. There are now people anonymously coming out and say he's an imbecile, he's done this, he has no etiquette for or any resolve and all this stuff that he could have avoided, I think, because you got to make moves. If you're going to make him, I'll give him credit that he's making moves. I just don't think the way he's doing it right now. I think it's the negative side effect of Zoloft at the moment.
See, I kind of look at it as this: winning cures everything.
Yeah.
And I think if we get, we've always said this, we're not going to feel the good or the bad real effects for a couple of years. But if we get to a place where Warner Brothers is finally a smoothly operating machine and they are putting out higher quality content, I think you're going to see everybody's going to be happy.
I don't disagree.
But it's just a matter of, like sometimes you get somebody trying to get in there and coddle everybody to where you need to be, and sometimes that's the right approach. And sometimes you need somebody like,
but John, isn't there a
Zaslav
difference?
to watch it and say, nope, I got to drop the hammer.
But isn't there a difference between coddling and not just like
It depends
spitting
on
in
what
the
the
face?
situation calls for.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think there's a one size fits all for every environment. Like sometimes you need somebody to go in with a softer touch that knows how to, because of the circumstance something's in.
But I think that there's a lot of, this is a talent-based business, and Warner Brothers is not just in the business of making movies.
Mm-hmm.
There's distribution, there's the physical media side, and I think a lot of people, from what I understand, at Warner Brothers are all walking on eggshells, not knowing. And this is the second time this has happened to Warner Brothers in just a couple of years.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's
AT&T
super
with Jason
unstable.
Kilar coming in,
Yeah.
and let's put all our movies on streaming.
Well, they cut a whole bunch of jobs this morning on HBO Max.
They're cutting jobs, and they do, and so Warner Brothers, if you're there, it's like a war-torn population.
Right. But remember all the reports. Let's not forget all the reports we heard coming out of Fox and Disney when the merger actually started happening. There were people panicked about their jobs. A lot of people lost their jobs. I mean, that's what happens when you're trying to push this together.
It's a regime change.
It's a regime change.
Yeah, it is. But the thing is also the thing that bothered me about it, the same type of like the etiquette stuff with like Walter Hamada, whether or not he was leaving or not, right? The idea and the report that I read, and maybe you can tell me differently, but the report that I read was that these plans were made, and it was made to the investors where Zoloft was going out. I know, he's Zaslav. Why do you call him that? Because I call him Zoloft. And when he's looking down the pike and he's telling the investors, this is our plan. This is what we're going to do. Here's our 10-year plan for DC and what we want to do, because he wants to get the investors excited. And you're the guy who's currently running at DC goes, we're doing what now? We're
But see, that's the thing about Hamada. He hasn't been running DC, right?
But
Like
he didn't have any knowledge of it, whether or not he's running it or not.
Yes.
He was in the department and he had no knowledge of this 10-year plan, so he wanted to get out. And then they're like, "Well, stick around till at least Black Adam."
And he's also one of the smartest executives working
Right.
at the studio
Right.
system today.
See, I hope they able, because they were going to give him DC to run. And then Anna Sarnoff came in and said, I want a committee. And she put together a 5-person committee that
I
Hamada
am
got
not
to
a
be on.
committee.
Yeah, and they took that power away from him. And then everything. So Walter Hamada never really got a chance to really run that
Right.
department or run that division. I'm not saying he's the guy to do it, but I would be very interested to see him stick around and be given that opportunity. Although, listen, they may have told him a long time ago that, listen, we're going to move in a different direction. Why don't you say, I'm going to leave. Like, we'll give you that. You say you're the one leaving. I mean, I just don't know what goes on behind the scenes there. But I do know this, is that the way they had done things for years, especially ever since AT&T took them over, was not going to work.
Right.
And somebody needed to come in, and whether it was with a carrot or with a stick, come in and say, we need to make this work, and we're going to make it work hell or high water. And he did that with Discovery, right? Like, he went into Discovery, which was a diaspora of a whole bunch of random kind of shit. He put it all together, brought in a bunch of executives and put them in charge of certain areas. And all of a sudden, Discovery Plus became this humming engine of a machine that just worked perfectly.
I don't disagree
So
that the guy's been successful.
let's see if it is with Warner or not, because maybe it doesn't work with Warner.
Also,
Just wish we would do it differently.
but there's, again, they already went through a no plan, flying by the seat of their pants with AT&T, and all these executives like, ooh, we're in Hollywood now, and they didn't know what was going on. At least Zaslav has been in Hollywood, but Warner Brothers, next year is the studio's 100th anniversary. There are things in place that were happening about this 100th anniversary and the legacy of the studio. It's a perfect time for a new regime to come in and be like, here it is, man. This is the 100th anniversary. We are starting our next century of work. But where is that leadership? Where is Zaslav? And I think he's making some interesting moves. But what is that direction that they should be ready to announce to the world to use that
Do they
legacy?
need to announce to the world? I don't know. Look, the bottom line for me is this too. Like, and this is something we've overlooked. The guy who believed in Kevin Feige and the guy who believed in Bob Iger, Alan Horn, is the guy who believes in David Zaslav.
True.
And like, as far as I'm
Or
concerned,
David Zaslav believes in him.
well, but like, listen, you have to. It's not like Alan Horn was going around Hollywood knocking on doors. Asking
He said
for
yes
jobs.
for a reason.
Yeah, he said yes for a reason.
Right.
And so, like, as long as Alan Horn says, you know what this guy's doing, I'm hitching my wagon to what this guy's doing. I'm like, I take Alan Horn's word for it.
I do too. Alan Horn is a Hall of Fame executive. Okay.
Yeah.
So Alan Horn, though, has been around these things. I was at Warner Brothers when Alan Horn was running the ship, right? And Alan Horn was the king of etiquette. The king of how to make sure employees are feeling good about it, how your talent's feeling good about it. Brother man, pass that off to this guy.
But see, I don't know if that's what Warner Brothers needs right now. I don't know.
But I'm not talking about the plan. I think the
Right.
plan's good, but the fact that I'm telling you, if your morale is low, if morale is low in any business, like with your employees
But
or
the
anyone,
morale's going to be low right now. Again, I reference back to when Disney and Fox started to merge. Morale was horrible over there. You got to get through that merger. They're in the process. You mentioned this morning. They're right now. They're in the middle of the process of merging in HBO Max with HBO. They're getting rid of a lot of redundancy. People are losing their jobs.
you mean
all that
Discovery?
No, with HBO.
Oh, HBO.
Yeah, so they're getting rid of a lot of the redundancy between HBO Max and HBO. And so there's going to be low morale. People are losing their jobs. People don't know who's going to be still working there in a few weeks. I mean, like Jackman just found out he lost his job there too. Yeah. So I would
He's the
say
greatest
this.
showman.
Yeah.
Let's get on the other side of this.
Sure.
Once all that's done and they get to where this is how we're going to operate, and we'll see how it goes. Anyway, we've spent way too much time on this.
I got their money worth on this one.
So let's keep. You know what? I'm going to let you guys answer a couple questions because I got to take a piss. So I'm going to go.
All right,
answer the
then.
questions.
Keeks Luna says, in general, how do payments for actors work for unreleased canceled projects? Are they still paid in full, partial, or just shit out of luck?
Well,
That's an interesting
You would
question.
know this.
Yeah, I mean, look, actors have contracts, and as you know, you don't get what you deserve, you get what you negotiate.
Right.
And usually, I mean, you get paid, you don't necessarily get paid everything up front, you get paid as you go along, and there are residual payments you're going to get paid and all of that. But here's the thing, that is based on the idea that a movie gets released and generates more income. But if a film doesn't get released, you get paid to be in the movie. You get paid what your contract states.
Right.
But you're not going to get residuals. You don't get you're not going to be in a sequel. You're not going to get any merchandising. So when a movie like this is canceled, everybody thinks that when they sign on to a superhero film, like, oh my God, perhaps I'm in a trilogy.
well, look at that big conversation that happened with Scarlett Johansson with Black Widow.
Yeah.
like that whole thing. So the streaming kind of changed how deals were negotiated in general because they didn't want that to happen. Because she got screwed out of a lot of stuff too.
She got screwed.
Yeah. Rob, what's next?
Donito says, well, Christian, over or under 15% Wong is a Skrull. Some got to know sorcery.
I'm going to go under for that one.
I'm going to go under too. He's become too important, although he is everywhere.
I think that he's developed his personality so much to it, almost like a cheat if you take it away from him.
I agree.
Yeah.
And I've read the scripts for Secret Invasion.
Look at you.
I know. Ricky Bizarro says, hi, I've been on a real Apple TV kick lately, and I've got to wondering, how much creative credit does Apple deserve when it comes to their shows? Are they just a distributor? For instance, Sony makes For All Mankind and Warner Brothers makes Ted Lasso.
I love this question so much because it's one of these things that any time, any place hires, whether it's Disney, Warner Brothers, Apple, there are executives in place that get these production companies that make the shows, and they're okay. We're bringing you in because what are your shows you're going to make? What are you going to present to this network, and how are you going to do it? A lot of times, what drives me crazy is when you're looking at, like, let's say Obi-Wan, and people are like, "Oh, Disney ruined Obi-Wan," or "Disney did this." Blame Lucasfilm. If you don't like it, blame Lucasfilm. I'm not saying that Disney doesn't have some input and stuff. They do, of course they do, but Lucasfilm is the one who decides what shows they're going to make, and they'll present it to Disney and say, hey, we want to do this, we need the money, blah, blah, blah. But they're the ones that ultimately are running their slate. The same with Marvel, the same with Apple, the same with all these things, whoever's making Ted Lasso, that company. But Apple will have their executives and say, hey, and like look at like Netflix. Netflix, when you think about certain shows that they have, they put executives in charge that are passionate about certain projects, and they have their input. But it's the production companies that should be given kudos and held responsible as well.
But see, I think it goes, I agree with that 100%, but I think it goes a little bit further too, because like when you look at an HBO as a platform, right? I so believe in their discerning curation of what they allow to be there that I just believe, and it doesn't work out 100% of the time, but if something's going to be on HBO, I just believe it's going to have really high quality. The way Apple TV has been working is that, man, they're just their skills in curating and deciding what goes on their stuff has been very, very good. So now when something's coming out other than Jason Momoa's C, I have like just about everything that Apple Plus has put out. And so I do give them some of the credit.
Of course, but there's also an executive who's saying we want to make these shows. For sure, absolutely, they should get the credit. I'm just saying that when the actual show itself and the creative of that show is like, let's say Ted Lasso starts to go downhill, right? You don't just blame Apple. You look at the writers, and you look at everybody else. And you look, that's the thing that drives me crazy. People just go, they won't give credit if it's really good, but they'll blame the studio if it's really bad. Right. And it's like, that's not, you blame the production company.
But go ahead, Ray.
But the main question here, Christian, you're watching, right? You're watching.
Ted Lasso?
No.
What? You?
For All Mankind?
I have not. No, because if I did, I would have gotten spoiled by his tweet.
Oh, and by the way, let me just I just wanted, as I was leaving, a question was asked about getting paid when things get shot. Let me just throw in this. Here's a quick example. Lena Headey got paid $7 million for a role in Thor: Love and Thunder that got cut out. She still got her $7 million. What they probably would not get is any back-end points that they had associated with it, but not everybody has that. In the case of a Batgirl, everybody who acted in that movie got fully paid. And then you might ask the question, well, what about back-end box office points? Well, that movie was never going into theaters in the first place. It was going onto streaming, so there weren't any back-end points to be associated with it anyway. So yes, everybody got paid.
And interesting, John, about that, Lena Headey could get back-end points even though she's not in the film, because her contract doesn't necessarily specify whether she's in it or not.
I thought I heard that.
I mean, it depends what her contract says.
Yeah, I believe because I think you were with me when I heard this. When I heard that it was specified in her contract that if she doesn't appear in the movie, she doesn't.
Yeah,
get
I mean that could be
points.
there too. You know, I don't.
But you're
know.
right. It could be if their agent's really good.
Yeah.
Whether I'm in the movie or not, I get back
Doesn't
at
matter.
points. That could be in there.
One more thing I wanted to say about what you were saying, Christian. Apple is basically a distributor.
Yeah.
They're not the studio that produces. Somebody has to still make these shows, and Apple doesn't have necessarily a production.
But they are doing that too, right? Because for their new Scorsese film, they're actually the company financing it, and they're like stuff. So they're starting to dabble a little bit more.
Of course, but and again goes back to it. You think Apple's going to say, "Hey, Scorsese, we want you to do this instead," and you know, like he could. Scorsese very might well have conversations with an Apple executive that he respects and goes, "Hey, you know, what about the location? If we could help you out here, like, did you guys watch The Offer? I loved it.
The Offer is fantastic.
So what Alan Ruddy did, like, what he was involved, he was a producer at Paramount, but like Coppola was the one in charge of that particular thing. Anyway, it's a whole thing you can get into, but you should look at the production.
What's
you
next?
guys? Anything else about Zaslav or any other thoughts?
All right, what's next?
SOMD Picker says Doctor Strange piano fight terrible.
I'll say this. The concept, very creative.
Yeah.
Like if I had read that in the screenplay, I would have gone like, for everybody who's always screaming, do new things, try new things. That was a very creative idea. And I liked the movie. I didn't love it, but I liked Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness. Did it work out great? No, end result wasn't great, but I do give them props for trying it, because I think the concept was very creative.
You know what it was? It was creative, but it became a bit.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
Yep, all about execution. All right, what's next?
Ben Rayner says, "Hi guys, so happy the favorite gang is back together today. Over or under 35% Alex Winter cameo in John Wick 4. Got to get the other stallion to help out in the John Wick universe. Awesome show today, all."
Normally, I would say, no, that's too much of a gimmick. But John Wick 4 is not above gimmick here and there. I will still go under 35%, but I wouldn't go to like 5%. I'd say it's somewhere between 15 and 20% chance. What do you think?
I'd say a little over 20, only because they just did Bill and Ted
Yeah,
together
that's what I'm
in
thinking.
the conversation it would be great to see him. It'd be great. And I haven't seen him in something non-comedy. He's probably been a lot. I mean, he's directing and other stuff too, but I haven't seen him in a non-comedy. He was great in Lost Boys. Nobody talks about him in Lost Boys.
I talk about
Yeah.
Lost Boys. I
Okay.
love him in Lost Boys.
And I would love to see him as an assassin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that could
They
be.
fight each other.
Yeah, they fight each
and
other.
you got to have Keanu Reeves. If they go face to face, you go, whoa. He's got to do that. You'd have to do that. All right, what's next?
Medieval dickweed.
Dad jokes says, John, you need to ask Chris for a referral for a voice acting job, specifically playing a country hick who speaks with the Twilight Boy accent. I'd pay big bucks to watch that.
Twilight Boy. You're talking about that movie with the Twilight Boy? Yeah, that's all I heard, man. For a year and a half after they announced that Robert Pattinson was like, and obviously, and look, I always understood if you never saw Good Time or all the other incredible work
Rover.
that Robert, I
Yeah.
loved him in Rover, that Robert Pattinson did between his Twilight days and when he was going to do Batman. I get it. If you had never seen any of that, I understand that. But you could always pick out people who never saw any of his other work because they're the ones, because nobody who saw how good of an actress he's become was ever going, Twilight Boy.
Right.
Because if they did, then you knew they hadn't seen their work. All right, what's next?
Bruh. That awkward moment when you wake up to turn the pillow for the cool side and everyone at your funeral service freaks the hell out.
I think I read, wasn't that a Far Side? Wasn't that in a Far Side? I think I've heard that before. That is a good line. I like that line a lot. All right, what's next?
Luis Enrique de la Pena says, great to see you, Harloff. Please read this in your Schwarzenegger voice. I would have loved Antonio Banderas to play Gomez. Get the reference?
I think you were, I don't know. What am I supposed to read?
Maybe
Maybe that one?
God, you know that reminds you ever watch Parks and Rec?
No.
Okay, wait, this is his character in Parks and Rec where all anybody wants he was a high school basketball
Jukebox.
star 20 years ago and all everybody wants him to do is to dunk the basketball. I feel like that's you get everywhere you go.
Yeah,
Hey,
true.
do your Schwarzenegger voice.
That's it. No. Gary Busey says, I believe in bagels.
All right, what's next?
Chef Rigo!
Jeff Rigo.
It's always movie, then dinner, guys.
Absolutely.
That way you can talk about how bad Easter Sunday was with some drinks and laughs.
That's Chef Rigo, of course, parroting my number one dating advice of all time. You do not do dinner in a movie. You do a movie, then dinner, especially as a first date. You go to a movie, you now have a shared common experience, but you don't end your evening on the fact that you just sat not talking to each other for 2 hours. You go, have a shared experience, then you go to dinner. Now you've got a shared point of reference, talk about shit, and then you go from there.
It's true.
That's
also,
the way you do it.
It's true also because what if you go to dinner on a first date and you're like, this person's terrible.
Yeah.
And then I sit next to them for 2 hours.
Exactly.
It's true.
Exactly. And by the way, I'm sorry. I did warn you about Easter Sunday. I did warn you about that, right? I gave you the heads
that the
up.
joke
Easter-
boy?
That's
Yeah.
the joke.
Easter
Boy.
Sunday.
Good.
Worst film of the year.
Whoa.
And he's my favorite comedian.
No, I
alive.
know, I know
I
he is.
love him so much. It's the worst film of the
Bummer.
year. All right, what's next?
Sidious Swift says page 69 of Chef Pleasure's book, Fingered Foods.
Nice.
Chef Pleasures. Ray's got to write a book. Chef Pleasures has got to write a book. All right,
Wow.
what's next?
Al Renshaw says, is Christian aware of the mozzarella sticks and sour cream movement? Has he tried it?
Yeah, so I had mentioned once on the show, maybe 2 weeks ago, that when you get matzo sticks at a restaurant, instead of getting marinara, ask them to bring you a side of sour cream.
Healthy.
And it is not the healthiest thing in the world. Definitely not. But it's a revelation. It's like you'll never go back. And everybody looked at me and it's like, what are you talking about? But ever since that has happened, Chef Rigo himself, a whole bunch of other people running and saying, you know what, Campea? Well, actually, we went to the restaurant and Chef Rigo came out and he was like, damn you, Campea, I actually tried it and I don't think I can ever go back. I'm just telling you, you should give it a shot. You'll never go back. Although Christian is right. It's probably not the healthiest thing in the world. Just add gravy and you've got like the perfect trifecta. All right, what's next?
Chat won't let us forget either.
Scott D says, are you calling the pregame shows It's Game Day?
I probably should call the pregame shows game day shows because that's what it is. It's game day. I love tailgating for these shows. I love it. I cannot wait for this show. I got more excited for it now. Maybe we should call it that. I'll
Game
think
Day and
about it.
Tailgate.
Yep. I like
Tailgate
that.
for She-Hulk episode 2.
All right, what's next?
Jay Bling says, I started writing my screenplay over the weekend. I'm into page 50 so far.
Wow.
I went into writing with a broad story outline in my head.
Listen, whenever somebody asks me about like having writer's block and I can't get past it, what I normally say is the best advice I've ever heard is that you can't steer a parked car. So even just start writing gibberish. Just start writing, because if you just stand still, you're not going to be able to course correct. Just start moving and then see what happens. And then you can go back and correct. But I love the fact you're blowing through it that fast. That's great. All right, what's next?
Ryder says, is Breaking Bad worth watching if you know the fate of most of the characters? Heard great things, but been spoiled over the years. Love having Christian on.
Thank you.
You know the Titanic sinks. I mean, it's about the story. It's about the story. So I would say, yeah. I mean, listen, Breaking Bad. I'm in the minority here. Breaking Bad is not in my top like 3 best shows of all time, but I like it very much. But absolutely, you can. I don't know what you guys have watched.
It's
So
the
what do you think?
journey, not the destination.
Yeah, it's the performances and it's the writing of Vince Gilligan and all that, for sure. And look, I got this ending of Scream ruined for me by my friend when he first said, "Oh, you never believe it." And he gave me the end. But I went and saw the movie, knew the end, loved it.
Yeah, it's the journey. All right, what's next?
Matt Boyle says, do you think Michael Giacchino will get a double nomination for Best Score at the Oscars with his Batman and Thor Love and Thunder?
To me, Thor Love and Thunder stands out more for its soundtrack than it did for its score, to be honest with you. Batman definitely is a possibility.
Yeah.
I actually, you know, it's funny. When I'm driving my car, I just tell my phone, hey Siri, just play YouTube music. And it's got a lot of just play soundtrack stuff. And Batman score has been kind of a lot. I love the score of that movie.
By the way, I got to look at that InArts Batman figure. That's $1,000.
Yeah.
Worth it.
I love how you call our Batman figures if you're expecting me to give you some money for that, because I am not. Thank you. By the way, no, actually, Taylor.
Why not if I want to put it on the desk?
People have been thinking that Taylor is a snuffleupagus, because I've been mentioning. So Taylor, why don't you just at least come over here for a second? You guys have heard me been mentioning Taylor, my new assistant Taylor, who's been bad mouthing bodies. So head more into the middle here,
Yeah,
so
come
people can
over here,
actually
man.
see you. So this is Taylor, everybody. Hello. So Taylor was just kind enough to bring me a drink. So there you go. See, real person. Not a snuffleupagus.
The one day I don't do my hair.
Really? That's what you're worried about? Anyway, all right. What's next?
Victor Edbaum says, so Christian, what does Arnold think of the new Predator movie?
No. I'm gonna put the.
I already
told me.
He told me. He told me, but he said, "Hey, listen, don't do my voice for this one because I want it to be very clear that I'm a fan of it, and I thought the dog was incredible. I really like what the dog did. Roof, no bark, went after the thing. There's a bear, and I said, look, I could fight the bear."
All right, what's next?
Tumbling Turdnado says, wait, you got a shit rat on the show? Welcome back, Christian.
Yeah, it's yeah. That was like the Batman Beyond shit, because they would only do that shit when I wasn't there.
We started to hit you with it at the end.
That's right, you did.
Because
You really
I remember
did.
Schnepp and I when we said, because you'd come back and we said, and Schnepp said, we got to do shit right with him. He hates it. I go, yeah, we got to. And then
Schnepp would do the worst.
Oh, he
Schnepp,
would.
well, Schnepp, and well, we knew we would do it. We would do it like right at a point where we knew it was going to get John and Ellis hated it too, and we would just nail them both, and it was great.
funny.
It was great.
All right, what's next?
Forgot about that.
And Marcellus says, what's your go-to movie app? I love Vudu for the UHD and Dolby Atmos selection.
Mine has just been Google, to be honest with you. I just it was the Google. Yeah, it's Google Play Store. It's still called, right? I honestly just go to the Google Play Store. I just get all my stuff from there. Every once in a while, I'll get it from Amazon or something like that. But I don't have my default. I won't say it's my go-to. I'll say it's my default.
It's Amazon for me.
That is our
Yeah, 'cause
go-to
I have
Amazon.
I have Amazon Prime, so I always look for
Yeah,
anything
me
available on
too.
Prime first, and then if not, I just get it there. Like I'm watching the Adam Sandler movies with my daughter, the younger ones,
Right.
And I think there were
Look at
some of them that
Rob.
are not available.
So mad.
So I watched with her there.
What's a movie app?
Well, like
No, he's
like-
I don't know what you're talking
he
about.
Likes the
Oh, yeah.
Blu-rays. I like.
Come
look,
on,
I'm,
man.
I'm with you on the. I'm not with
4K,
him. I
Blu-ray.
love Blu-ray, but I still. I'm both.
best of both worlds.
Yeah.
All right, what's next?
Terry McGinnis Ezra choked a girl and hit another with a chair. He's a woman beater, and he's groomed a child. Sick. I can't pay money to see them in a movie.
Okay, there are a couple things I want to throw out there. First of all, you've heard us talk about all these incidents, and you know exactly how we feel about all those incidents, right? That's not in question whatsoever. That being said, if you knew everything everybody who worked on movies you like did, you wouldn't watch any movies.
Right.
And that's just the reality. If you knew about the second unit director, or if you knew about one of the screenwriters, or if you knew about one of the producers, or if you knew one of the secondary actors, or if you knew, listen, there are hundreds of people that work on these movies, and I got hard news for you. A lot of them does some pretty terrible things that you either probably just don't know about. While Ezra Miller did do that stuff after he was already cast. Like I draw a line when we know somebody did a lot of like horrible crap and then somebody hires them anyway. Like despite that, that's when I have more of an issue. But should Andy Muschietti be punished? Should the director of Flash, who's poured the last number of years of his life into making this movie and all that kind of stuff, should Andy Muschietti be punished for stuff that he knew nothing about? A lot of stuff happened with after he shot his movie. So he had nothing to do with it. Like this is all shit that happened after the movie. So, I mean, I just don't know. I'm weird in a way. Like you take something like a Kevin Spacey, right? If Kevin Spacey were to make a new movie now, I don't think I could watch it. But, and again, I'm not saying this is right or wrong. This is the way my brain works. I have no problem going back and watching old movies of his that were around before all this other stuff came out. Again, I'm not saying that's right or wrong. I'm just saying that's the way my brain works. How do you guys feel? It's not an easy thing to answer.
No, I think you make a
answer.
point. Look, think about Michael Keaton also. This is Michael Keaton's return as Batman. I mean, there's both Batgirl, which was not going to see the light of day, we know, and then this one. So I do understand though, like it, but saying what John said, and I agree with a lot of what you're saying, but if the person who wrote that email also feels strongly enough that even if it's a punishment to Muschietti or not, if they feel strong enough that they don't want to support, the power should go to them on that.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Because we don't know, as you guys said before, we don't know what that person's experience is with the stuff that Ezra Miller has been involved in. So, but there is that, it's that thing. It's that thing of, look, you should choose whatever you're comfortable with to see, but I don't think you should also say, well, it shouldn't come out in general. It's like, put it out. I'm not going to see it, but put it out, and Muschietti and Keaton and everybody else should be rewarded for their work.
Yeah, again, it's let's not pretend like there's an easy answer to it.
There isn't.
There just isn't.
No.
All right, what's next?
Randall Amador says, finally, the Christian and John Manscaped collab is here. Hey, Christian, show some class.
Just a little, just an ounce.
Yeah.
That's what we're trying to do.
We're working on doing a tandem Manscaped session on video.
Okay, I don't want to be between you
It's
two
going to break
guys.
the internet.
I'm in the middle
Everybody's
of this right
gonna
now.
love
And
it.
I'm uncomfortable.
I've never agreed to this.
I'm calling HR.
Chris,
I'm calling HR.
Great, you're hired back.
All right, what's next?
Wow.
Ouch.
Casey Mack says, hey, John and crew, just saw a preview of the first look of Guillermo del Toro's Cabinet of Curiosities, and I've got to say, this looks really interesting. I have to second Casey Mack's assessment. I think that trailer looks great. They got a great lineup of directors, and that shit looks bonkers.
Tell you what, our own Chris Carr, she cannot handle, we all know, the one thing we know about Chris Carr, she cannot handle eye violence. It's that just freaks her out. And in the first 10 seconds of that Cabinet of Curiosities thing, close-up shot of a scalpel going into somebody's eye. So me, being the loving, caring guy that I am, I take a snapshot of that and I text it over to Chris immediately.
What you need to do is find someone to do a clip of all of the most brutal eye ones and have her do a reaction video to it.
Oh,
Lucio Fulci's zombie, man. Just make that on repeat.
but it does look, have you seen this Cabinet of Curiosities?
I have not. But
It's not really a trailer. What it is, it's really more of a little featurette because it's Guillermo del Toro. It's like the old 50s trailers where the director's actually talking about
That's cool.
it. And it's just all, but it's an
Hitchcock style?
anthology series.
Yeah.
Well, it's got some of the best. They show clips from all the different. It's an anthology show.
Yeah.
From all the different directors, and they've got a great mix of both men and women directors. So
That's great.
They've got some of the best horror directors in the business working.
You
I'm
talk
really
about a
excited.
creative dude. I mean,
Yeah.
And it's like half the feature is just his monster sketches.
I love that.
And like every one of the anthology things apparently has a very creative, different looking monster.
Yeah,
So
they're great.
it's going to be pretty cool. All right, what's next?
Amin says, I hope the cameos in She-Hulk aren't there just for the sake of it and actually make sense to the story and narrative.
Here's the thing. It depends on what what is the show supposed to be? Because for the most part, you know me, I'm the exact same thoughts. Like, don't throw in cameos for the sake of cameos. But for a show that is clearly functionally a very different kind of show than what a standard Marvel thing is, and again, Christian, you would know this better than me because you've seen the first 4 episodes. To me, you can get away with more of that in a show like this than you would, say, in a, a War Machine movie if you're going to do that. I don't know. What do you think?
So one of the things that I saw recently, I don't know if you guys talked about it, but last week there was a report that the writers came out and said they wanted to use Spider-Man, and Marvel told them, no,
right?
You can't. Obviously, probably because of Sony and all.
Probably
those
Sony
rights
thing,
too,
yeah.
probably for sure. But then it was like, well, what are they going to use Spider-Man for? Is it for the narrative of the show? Is it like what does it mean? It makes sense that like we've seen that Daredevil's going to be in it, right? It's in the trailer. Makes sense. Lawyer is going to be inside of it, and that's a good way to kind of make him a little bit more active. All I'll say without reviewing anything is that it does make sense.
All right,
I'm hoping to
know.
see Paste Pot Pete for the first time.
Paste Pot Pete.
Paste Pot Pete. John Shep, we always talked about that on the show. Will we ever see Paste Pot Pete?
All right, what's next?
Did you say piss pot?
Yeah, he did.
He said piss pot.
Piss Pot Pete. Piss Pot Pete.
Hello, piss pot.
Pete.
Nice to see you. Hey.
All right. By the way, how many more do we have to go here, John?
I don't know.
Okay, we're gonna have to throw this into overdrive because we are way behind schedule. Okay, what's next?
Luis Enrique de la Peña says there's been rumors that Universal's distribution rights for Hulk expire in 2025. If this is true, do you think we might get a Hulk-centric Marvel project? Maybe Hulk versus Wolverine?
Yeah, look, so I've seen these rumors going around. They are based on a Reddit thing that somebody read something. And look, my understanding is that the rights Universal have are in perpetuity. That's my understanding of it. Now, I'm not telling you that, the head of NBC Universal has gotten a hold of me saying, I'm not saying that Bob Paycheck has gotten a hold of me and told me that. Not at all. But my understanding of it is in perpetuity. And that is why, a couple of years ago, the fight between Disney and Universal over the rights to Hulk started getting a little public. Like even Mark Ruffalo started making public statements because they're not just coming back to them anytime soon. They don't just get to sit back and just wait for them to come back. This isn't a production deal where you have to be like Fox had the production rights to Daredevil for a long time, but there was a ticking window on that. You got to be in production of a Daredevil movie by a certain time. That's not what the Universal situation is. Universal's like, we get to distribute it once you make it, Disney.
Look at Tomb Raider, same type of thing.
Yeah, same type of situation, right? So my understanding is their rights are in perpetuity. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's always been my understanding of the situation. All right, what's next?
There's 25.
25 left.
Raymond Verada
Let's move.
says, everyone loves a comeback story. Remember Robert Downey Jr.? After years of trouble, he became Iron Man and everything turned out okay. Ezra might have some bumpy roads, but he can come back.
Listen, and while I'm not going to compare what Robert Downey Jr. did to the stuff that Ezra Miller has allegedly done, stuff like that, let's not forget, he did some pretty dangerous stuff. Like he was caught, I believe, like really high on a lot of drugs, driving dangerously with a loaded weapon in the car. Like, and there was stuff.
That's just another Saturday night.
He sunk his own career. Then he got revitalized on Ally McBeal, blew that again.
Yeah.
And he was basically mud. So you're right. Like we do kind of love a good comeback story, but again, let's not pretend it's an apples to apples situation. All right. What's next?
Bobby Jackson says, Christian, did you have a chance to watch the Cobra Kai trailer?
So no, I when I came in, it hadn't dropped yet, and I said to John, I said, "Isn't it funny every time I do the show? There's a
Cobra Kai trailer."
Cobra Kai trailer, but I haven't had a chance to see it yet. Plan is to go back later to my studio and check it out.
You actually moderated the Cobra Kai panel
at the Nokia Theater for Netflix is a Joke.
That's right. That was huge.
It was really
You did
fun.
that.
It was great, and it's a great group of people over there.
All right. What's next?
I think I'm the only other big Cobra Kai fan in this room.
Nice. Well, you're the only smart one.
Shuva Raman says, Robin John, I was going all digital, then got reintroduced to physical media. Yes, sir. Now sitting at 210 titles with 95 steelbooks.
And nowhere to put them.
15 collections. Amen. By the way, I hope you're getting those steelbook protector sleeves. They're great.
Here's the thing I do now whenever I'm in a friend's house. It's got like a bookshelf of DVDs, whatever. I'm like, cool. And I'll point at one. When's the last time you pulled that one out and put it in your player?
So she said.
Jonathan's on fire today, man.
And it's like usually 9 times out of the answer is probably never.
What? Just a bookshelf?
But
One?
But I remember I asked you, like, one time I was having a conversation with you, and correct me if I'm wrong, correct me if I'm not remembering this right, but you mentioned this one particular DVD. I said, okay, that's cool, but since you bought it, how many times have you actually pulled it out and played it? He said, probably none. I'm like, and what percentage of your collection have you probably never actually put into a Blu-ray player? And it was a high number. It was a high number.
Sometimes it's just enough to know that
that it's there. All right.
Yeah.
What's next?
Trevor says, holy crap, I just got around to watching Severance this past weekend.
So good.
Maybe one of my favorite seasons of television. So damn
Have
good.
you watched this?
No.
You know what? It's funny because
Take
when
it
they
easy.
brought it up, I remember thinking, this is actually a show I think is right up your alley.
I know. I
I
hear
think
it.
you'd really like this show.
I started watching it, and it's an ongoing thing with my wife, which I'm sure you know. When you're sitting down and you're watching something, and if she's not tuned into it, it's like if we bail on it, right?
Yep.
And that's what happened with that one. We started watching. I liked it. She's like, I'm not taking it. So we started watching The Old Man instead.
I admit too, like after the second episode, I was ready to give up on it. And Ann was just like, okay, let's give it another one or two. And then I just
I
got
gotta check it out.
completely
I hear
hooked,
great. Ellis swears by it. He loves it.
The finale was, the season finale was fantastic.
Yeah.
So good. All right, what's next?
Dylan Payton says, hey, y'all, I just rewatched Joker this past weekend, and I
Nice.
forgot how amazing the score was.
Yeah.
I really hope Hildur Gudensdottir comes back to do the score for Joker 2. What do you guys think?
I don't see why they wouldn't.
Gotta get her
neither.
back.
I mean, I think like the music is such a part of the atmosphere of that movie.
But if it is
a
a musical, they're going to probably have somebody else come in to write the book, meaning the lyrics.
Yeah, but I mean, again, score is often different from
Yeah.
soundtrack. The musical part will probably be more soundtrack stuff, but the score you got to have.
Oh,
there.
absolutely.
I think you 100% bring her back.
Yep.
All right, what's next?
The Wookiee says, have you guys seen Severance? Oh, my goodness.
We were just talking about that, and yes, it's Adam Scott is fantastic in that. All right, what's next?
Keeks Luna says, it's my husband's birthday. He's a huge fan. Happy birthday, Paul.
Happy birthday, Paul! May you have a glorious day and a fantastic year ahead of yourself. And that's so nice of your wife to write that in. So again, Paul, happy birthday to you, my friend. All right, what's
I
next?
just love to have a wife named Keeks.
That's a cool. name.
Irene Jobson says, just saying hi and love y'all. Bring on the filthy.
Aw, thank you, Irene. Appreciate that very much. It's always cool when people want to write in just to say something encouraging. All right, what's next?
The Robo producer says, John, new name for the show, Rob Burnett's Physical Media with John Campea.
Well, you have a great name for your physical media show.
Let's get Physical Media.
which is more appropriate even now too with the recent passing of the
Yeah, in
late
which
John.
we did honor her in the Sunday's episode. We put up a picture of her before the show started.
So yeah, for you guys who are really into physical media, like Dial Phones, Robert Meyer Burnett has it's actually a really great show called Let's Get Physical, talking all about physical media. You should
Tomorrow
check
with
it
the
out.
8-track.
Wow. I sit between these guys and it's just one abuse after another.
Actually, I'm on your side with the physical media. It's just fun to break your balls.
That's all right. I got Manscaped balls. Clutter Hale says, I just want to say Harloff is the man. Been a fan of you since I was 11. I'm now 23. Thanks for great content like Big Thing every day. I really enjoy it.
Thank you, you young whippersnapper. I appreciate it. That's awesome, man. Every time I hear that, it's like it's humbling, but it's also like, damn, I'm getting old.
We had somebody write in the other day that was like, I watched you in like grade 8 and I graduated college 2 years ago.
Right.
And
Yeah,
I'm like,
yeah, right.
wow.
Dude, my first appearance on AMC Movie Talk was almost 9 years ago.
Yeah, well, it was funny because Jonathan and I were talking the other day about like how long ago. Like I still remember the first day Jonathan came in to interview with me and Dennis, and he was like, "Oh yeah, that was like 8.5, 9 years
Easily.
ago." And I'm like, "What?"
Easily. Yeah.
It's like it's crazy how long. Yeah, time flies, man. Time flies. All right, what's next?
Casey Mack says, well, it happened. An idea for a game I thought that would never happen because I never thought it would be a good story for a video game. I give the name to you, Squirrel with a Gun.
Is that an actual video game coming out?
No, I think it's probably because I don't know. I mean, I've had beef with squirrels. Maybe it's that squirrel coming back to haunt me. I don't
Do
know.
you remember? It was a couple of years ago that what was it? It was the Russian sounding last name, Titterov or something like that. I'm trying to remember. Like it's a name you'd know, and they put out a concept trailer for a movie called Squirrels. Do you remember this?
I do remember this.
Where it's like literally, it's a movie where all the squirrels just all of a sudden decide they're going to kill humanity.
Yeah.
And it was like this concept
They
trailer.
lived in my backyard.
A woman
You
walking
gotta
through
show
a park in the middle of town. All of a sudden, these
Oh my
squirrels start
God.
attacking her.
I'd watch
It's
that.
Ray's nightmare.
real game, man.
Is Squirrel with a gun is a real game?
Can you show a pic of this or just throw a
Not
screenshot?
easily. I mean, I
It's
can try to
it
bring it
actually
up.
looks like a real squirrel with just a handgun, and he's running around chasing people. Now he has a Uzi. He has
All right.
costumes like
Squirrel.
a real squirrel, not a cartoon squirrel. Like this actually looks like a real squirrel. He's
Wow.
chasing people.
Part of Super Pets.
Well, Ray's gonna
did
be-
you see DC Super Pets?
Oh, I did.
That's like
I
that.
actually kind of liked it.
I liked it too,
I
but
thought it was pretty good.
I liked it. It's like that whole gimmick and what happened.
Okay, so now Ray's going to be totally distracted for the next 3 days.
He's going to be playing the
All
game.
right,
Yeah.
what's next?
Amin says, Christian, how would you rate the CGI for She-Hulk? Because like you, I thought it looked quite bad in the trailers.
So that was my major concern with it because it was so clear, and I was also, it was pointed out that it was obviously watching it on YouTube is significantly different when you're watching it on something else. It's much better. Some of the shots that I saw from the first episode in the trailer. There are things though that are still noticeable in some of the other episodes that maybe whether it's still not done all the way through in the copy that I saw. But I wasn't it wasn't jarring to me.
It didn't pull you out of it.
No, because I was so locked into the story at this point. By the time it did bother me at all, I'm like, it doesn't look great, but who cares? Like when I was watching the trailer, I'm like, oh man, is this going to be jokes that aren't going to be very good plus bad CGI? And I was so locked into the story, I didn't give a shit.
All right, what's next?
TJ Thomas says, how do streaming shows make a profit?
The show, well, it depends. Is it an original actually produced by the streamer themselves? Is it acquired? If it's acquired, they actually make their money because they get a licensing fee for the shows, and that's how they make their money. If it's the streamer itself, it's just basically a part of, for lack of a better term, R&D, just to make your shows to have a streaming service so you have subscribers, things. So you kind of equate on that level. That's why individual shows don't actually make money for the streamers. It's really the collection of the catalog that does that. So it's a much wider thing. And believe me, these streamers are learning as they're going.
Mm-hmm.
They're learning as they're going. And one of the great things I think came out of that Warner Brothers call was when the CFO, I think it was the CFO in the Warner Brothers call, who says, we just don't see the financial model that works of spending $200 million in a movie that we're putting on a streaming service. And it's like, Robert Meyer Burnett and I have been saying that for years. Finally, somebody's getting it. But yeah, it's a little different than obviously the traditional model we all know of taking a movie, putting it in theater, makes a whole bunch of box office, hopefully, and that's how you equate your money. But it's different on streaming. All right, what's next?
Will Lambert says, we know we shouldn't use phones during a movie. What about during the trailers? I witnessed a scary verbal altercation between two people arguing this.
You know what? I was just thinking that myself the other day. Oh, okay, look. My answer right now, don't hold me to it because I might change my mind if I hear a good argument. Right now, I don't mind the idea of somebody, like if I'm in a theater and somebody's pulling out their phone during trailers, I honestly don't mind. To me, it's commercials. Commercials are playing. I'm okay with that personally, but I could have my, I don't know, change my mind. Do you guys?
I'm on the opposite side. What commercials to me is like, hey, here's another thing for Dasani. Don't drink Dasani. They put salt in their water. But when I'm looking at, once the lights go down, and don't assume that I watched it on YouTube. Don't assume that I've seen this thing before on a movie that I might want to check out, because
That's a good point.
Even though it's a commercial, because you're advertising your movie, so I got you there, but you're showing a mini movie there because you want me to get you to watch my movie. So I don't want to have some guy go, oh, I'm checking my emails while I'm looking. It's like, check your emails before you get into the theater.
I'm with you 100%. I mean, look, anybody that is on their phone, when you walk into a movie theater, when you walk into the actual theater, you're with a bunch of people that have paid to walk into that room. They've paid to walk in the room. Out of courtesy, you, I think, have a social obligation to everybody else who's paid to come in that room, not to ruin their experience, whatever that might be. And I'm like, when you walk into a theater, put your phone away until the lights go down. I mean,
these are good
keep
points.
your phone out. When the
These are
lights
good
go down,
arguments.
put your phone
Remember
away.
when myself, you, and Schnepp went to see The Force Awakens trailer at AMC?
Yes.
So let me say, we sit down before whatever movie it was, right? And right next to us is some dude blasting his phone, checking his email because it's a trailer. You would have been pissed off.
Probably. Yeah, they probably wouldn't have left the theater. Yeah.
Right.
And you're right. And who knows what trailer playing could be The Force Awakens for somebody else.
Right.
You know what? You've changed my mind. There you go. You changed my mind. All right, what's next?
Calvin S. says, hey, John and all, what do you think of the James Franco as Fidel Castro casting?
Yeah, we were talking about this the other day. Listen, my base thing is this. Actors are artists who play people that they aren't actually. That's what acting is. So I don't really care. Now, who was it? What's the name of the talk show host we were talking about the other day? Bill Maher? This is
Bill Maher. Yeah, it was Bill Maher.
I'm not actually a big Bill Maher fan, to be honest with you. But somebody shared, our friend Kevin Rubio shared a video clip of Bill Maher with me talking about that specific issue. Because who was it, the actor that came out that had a problem with it? John
Leguizamo.
Leguizamo. That John Leguizamo said, hey, this is bullshit. He's not Puerto Rican. And Bill Maher raised a really good point. He said, well, John, you're not a short Italian plumber, but you played that in Mario. You're also not a short Parisian poet, which is what he played brilliantly, by the way, in Moulin Rouge, one of my top 20 favorite films of all time. And then he went on to list other things. Honestly, to me, and then when they showed pictures of James Franco next to Castro, I'm like, holy shit, he looks exactly like him. I don't know. To me, my just base operating line, like ultimately, I don't care because I'm not the one casting the movie, so I don't care. But actors play things that they are not. And so I don't really care about it. To me, it's perfectly fine.
Would you want to live in a world where Al Pacino, an Italian, didn't play Tony Montana in Scarface? I don't.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't listen again, and I don't want to pretend like there's just one blanket answer that covers all circumstances. It doesn't. Every circumstance is different. But like I said, my own just personal baseline is I have no problems of an actor playing a character that they aren't. Like that's just my baseline. Just like I don't need an actor to actually be a German Nazi to play a German Nazi character in a World War II movie. So I don't know. Again, that doesn't apply to everything. There are definitely exceptions, but I'm okay with the James Franco thing myself. All right, what's next?
Oh boy. Aspar Loki Runarsson. Hey nerds. I've been wondering, what's the deal with Dr. Doom? What makes the guy an interesting character? And can you recommend any stories that show why he's such a big deal? Thanks, and bring on the filthy.
My favorite one, although I'm freezing on the name of the story, it's the one where he actually becomes Doctor Strange's apprentice, where he's trying to get his mother.
It's funny because I have that hardcover graphic
and
novel.
I'm forgetting the name of the actual storyline.
I'm forgetting the name.
But I
of it
love
too.
that too. But Schnepp's prized possession for a long time was that giant Doctor Doom bus.
yeah.
Remember that one was huge. You are more well versed in this.
I mean,
why is Doctor Doom so celebrated?
I think that the reason Dr. Doom is so great is because he's a great larger than life villain. First of all, he runs a country. He's diabolical. And yet he's like Magneto. He can be benevolent. He can be benevolent and benevolent. He's just a mainstay of the Marvel universe. And, he's been part of a lot of large plots to do bad things. He's just a fun villain.
People in the chat are saying it's Triumph and Torment.
Yes.
Or Rasgard.
There you go.
That's what it's called.
Now, if you know the story of Secret Wars, Doctor Doom, you could argue is the key figure in many ways.
Yes, he is.
Of that story. But I don't know that they're going to have Doctor Doom in the MCU by the time Secret Wars comes around.
So there's the big rumor is that he's going to be in a post-credit scene for Black Panther. Wakanda Forever. So because you don't think it's going to happen?
I don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Would I put money on it? No, but it really doesn't look like any of the Fox stuff is going to. But then again, listen, who's the other big main key character when it comes to Secret Wars? Reed Richards.
Well, yeah.
So, I mean, are they going to be in there, or are they going to swap those characters out, just kind of like how Black Panther took Spider-Man's place in Civil War?
Well, I think introducing Victor Von Doom in Black Panther and Wakanda Forever makes sense because
especially if he's a foreign dignitary.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I'll bet you that we're going to see an actor outside of the Doctor Doom armor as Victor Von Doom, and he'll be getting into the armor. That
well, in the comics, doesn't Doctor Doom like convince Namor to attack and do a kind of?
I was going to say some of my favorite like one-on-one conversations in comics have been between Namor and Doctor Doom. There's this one time Namor actually went to Doctor Doom like with this plot, this idea to try to help save the world, and Doctor Doom was like, "Nah," and it's like, "Why?" Because he found out he actually went to Reed Richards, or he went to somebody else first, or maybe it was he went to Xavier first. He goes, "Yeah, I wasn't the first person you came to, so nah, not gonna help you do that." Like it's just so great, but they have some great conversations. All right, sorry, what's next?
Suthia says, Christian, good to see you on the show. Times like this where I wish Mr. Schnepp was still among you guys so we could get some more shit rats.
I know. It was one of my favorite things ever. I miss the big man every day.
We just, of course, the anniversary of his passing was just a few weeks ago. All right, what's next?
Ron H says, I think Christian has been somewhat opposed to the moves of Zaslav Zoloft. How about a quick mini debate on his moves thus
Well,
far?
no, we're not going to get
do
into
that.
that.
We did that.
Yeah, we did
We did
that.
that.
So
Yeah,
we're
yeah.
not, we will obviously we won't go into that again.
Was that Ron H?
Yeah.
He said you guys were doing it to ignore super chat, but
Too late.
obviously I forgot.
Oh, yeah.
All right, what's next?
Nikita Monahan says, a few months ago, you mentioned Netflix is considering playing Glass Onion and Bardo in theaters at least for 45 days, considering there are no tentpoles.
Well, no, yeah, that was the report that came out that they were actually looking at putting. That's, by the way, is the new Knives Out sequel. They're talking about putting that in. They're actually looking at putting that in theaters.
By the way, I forgot to mention something about Cabinet of Curiosities. It's listed that they're going to release it one day at a time.
Oh,
So
one
they're-
chapter.
Yeah, so
a
they're
day?
not going to drop it all at once.
Good.
So it debuts October 25th, leading up to Halloween.
Is that Netflix?
Yeah.
Yeah, and
so
guess what? We've
finally.
been seeing Netflix again. We've been saying for years they're going to do this.
Yeah.
We've been seeing Netflix more and more experimenting with this
Good.
type of strategy. Yeah, which is going to be
I
really
wish
good
they
for
would have
them.
done that with the Sandman.
I agree.
Yeah.
Totally
Yeah.
agree. All right, what's next?
Tim Platt says, not going to lie, if Ezra Miller works one day before Will Smith, I will be extremely pissed. Feels like the narrative towards Smith is way harsher than towards Miller.
I mean, I don't know that Will Smith is not working right now because there aren't people willing to work with him right now. I think Will Smith is just kind of taking time to lay low for a bit.
It's also, there's another thing too. Sorry to cut you off, but the other thing is that he wasn't involved in this $200 million movie that was already shot,
Yes.
ready to go. That's part one. Part two is, and I said this to you beforehand, as much as we are very aware of this story with Ezra Miller, the general public is not.
I agree.
That's right.
Yeah, we've
Now,
talked about that.
Everybody knows what happened with Will Smith. It was very, very public. Whether you watch the
Yeah.
Oscars or not,
He did it at the Oscars.
everybody knew it because it was very reported on and it was all over news. Ezra Miller is not as big of a story outside of this world that you think it is. I was walking with like a parent that I told you from my kid's school. I said, I wanted to test this theory. So I said, what do you think about this stuff going on with Ezra Miller? The guy looked at me and said, who's that?
Yeah, nobody knows.
Right.
The general population does not know who Ezra Miller is.
Yeah, I believe they're starting to become aware of the situation, but it's not nearly
No.
as prevalent as
Will
in
Smith,
our circles,
yeah.
right? Whereas the Will Smith thing.
I mean,
was
everybody
there, but-
grew up watching Fresh Prince.
Yeah, that's why it seems more extreme because way more people know about that story.
Yeah. All right, what's next?
Dwayne Fernandez says, what do you guys think is better at the moment, Zaslav or Chapek?
Zaslav. I think. Well, I mean that. But it all depends on your point of view. I think Zaslav has done nothing but make right moves since he got there. Chapek, I have a different opinion about the moves that he's made since he's been there, particularly the way they've structured the whole thing, taking all the power away from the creatives and giving it to other people. But again, you got to give. Chapek is getting into his third year now. And I think in the next year or so is when you're really going to start to see what the effects of them being there are. Like we've already seen some of the effects, and we've talked about that on previous shows. But for me, it's not even close. It's by a mile. David Zaslav has been doing things that I think are going to course correct Warner Brothers and put DC back into a much better position than they've been traditionally. But we won't know that for sure for a couple of years. I mean, who knows? They could be burned to the ground by then. So who knows? Might be very wrong, but we'll see. All right, what's next?
Luis Enrique de la Pena says, if you could choose only one other character for Henry Cavill to play, who would it be? Connor McLeod, James Bond, or Wolverine?
James Bond.
Bond.
Me too.
Yep. I mean, hey, he'd be great. He's a great actor. He'd be great in anything, but I think we all kind of. He was the runner-up to play James Bond to
was.
Daniel Craig.
Yeah, I want to see a short, stocky Wolverine though too. He's a big dude. He's like 6'3".
Yeah. It's Taron Egerton, I'm telling you.
Yeah.
All right. What's next?
Angela Dashner says,
Hey.
thanks, a $99 super chat.
Angela's been one of our biggest supporters for years and years and years and years. Angela, thank you so much for that. We appreciate that so much. What does Angela have to say?
Angela says, thanks, John and crew, for everything you and the crew do. I like that. Looking for a suggestion of a Western-style movie to watch with my husband this weekend. We have a date night scheduled, and we have already seen everything in the theater. Westerns are his favorite.
I would say, not that this is my favorite Western of all time or anything like that, the remake of 3:10 to
I was
Yuma.
just gonna say 3:10 to Yuma
Right? With Christian Bale, Russell Crowe.
What was the other one? The Australian one? Is it not? Is the proposal?
Australia?
No,
The
Is it
proposal, yep.
Proposal. Yeah.
Proposal's really good.
I
And-
still love Open Range.
Open
Range
Range
is
is
shot.
great.
Yeah.
This is not a literal Western, but it is very Western in its DNA. Hell or High Water.
Oh God. I love that.
It's a great one.
It's
Great
very
modern
Western in its
Doctor.
DNA.
Of course it is.
I would like to recommend a modern Western that is not real modern. It's on the edge, though. It is Walter Hill's movie, The Long Riders, that stars a bunch of brothers like the Quaid brothers and the Carradine brothers. It's great.
Yeah, and if you want to go pop, little poppy popcorn, you go to oh my God,
Logan?
no, I'll be a Huckleberry. Tombstone.
Tombstone. Yeah, Tombstone's a great one.
And it is the 30th anniversary, well, last month was, of Unforgiven.
Oh man, it's a great one too.
And
So
you
is
can
that-
always...
That is my
Great.
favorite Western of
Yeah,
all time. Is
I
Unforgiven.
mean, The Duck of Death.
All right, what's
The
next?
Duck of Death.
The Duck of
The
Death.
Duck of Death sucked. Says, hi, guys. Have you seen Hulu's This Fool? It is the funniest thing since What We Do in the Shadows, a must-see.
I've never even heard of it.
I've never heard of it either.
I saw the trailer, but I haven't seen it.
All right.
I'm in. Count me in.
Thanks for putting it on our radar,
This
man.
Fool, that alone.
By
I'll
the way,
watch
the
it.
last couple of episodes of What We Do in the Shadow has been some of the funniest shit I've ever seen. All right, what's
Should be the
next?
name of this episode with me on it.
Sean Nicholson says, I want to hear John and Kristen debate the HBO Max and David Zoloft situation.
Well, I
We
think
did.
we got into it, but the only thing with HBO Max that I would say, look, I mean, for the I know you're post the 45 90 day window, right? My only thing
A hard window. Yeah.
Yeah, my only thing was this is my main, again, going back to etiquette and everything too. When that was announced off the bat, that's how they got a lot of subscribers in. Was, hey, we're putting things in right away in the theater because of pandemic, obviously,
Yeah.
and everything too. Then they said, well, we're going to have everything. We're going to not put it in day release, but we're going to have that 45 to 90. All right, we'll stick around to it. And then it's like, no, we're not doing that anymore. Wait till 2023. Especially because the other thing that I'm telling you is it's like, as a family person, 45 to 90, like my wife hasn't been to the movie theater in like 3 years. So she likes to see all these movies. She's waiting more. She's waiting for things that come out. And then like Elvis, Elvis isn't a movie like Top Gun that's still making a lot of money in the theater. Put it out. Let us see it, or wait and say we're not doing that anymore, and we're starting in 2023.
Well, I mean, one of the things that though they said was that it's not that they won't release a movie after 45 days.
case by case.
It's they're going to do it case by case basis. It's like,
But why Elvis?
why? I mean, who knows?
Right.
They actually it may be like a Tom Cruise situation with why am I freezing on the name of the director?
Baz
of Moulin
Luhrmann.
Rouge?
Baz Luhrmann.
Where it's like they might have an agreement to not release it anytime sooner than that. So I mean, that's fine. I'm all for a case by case basis. Like if there's a movie that came and went and there's an economic argument to me, it's like, you know what? It's not pulling any money anymore. Put it out in 45 days.
Yeah.
But if a movie has legs and it's making money and it has that kind of a life, leave it in theaters for 90 days.
I don't mind
it's
that.
case by case.
I don't mind that as long as they pushed it to, like, again, 2023, because they sold the strategy of getting people in to subscribe in for 2022 for that strategy.
All right. And I think we just got some support
Yep.
left, don't we?
Philly G at $20 super chat. Thank you, Philly
Sean
G.
Nicholson at 778.
DAL $2.95. Joshua Cohen and Marquis Tidwell.
Just sending in support. Guys, thank you so much for that. We appreciate that a bunch. And guys, that'll do it for today's installment of the John Campea Show. Thank you so much for being here and making this show part of your day. By the way, don't forget, in a couple of hours, later this afternoon at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, we have Movie Club, and we're talking about the Tom Cruise, actually my favorite Tom Cruise movie, Edge of Tomorrow. I'm not calling it Live, Die, and Repeat. Screw that shit. It's called Edge of Tomorrow. Really should be called All You Need Is Kill. Again, one of the better movies and probably one of the worst marketing campaigns in history. So me, Rob, and Ray will be back to talk about that a little bit later. I want to thank the guys sitting in the room with me. First of all, of course, Robert Meyer Burnett. Robert, where can people find you online?
You can find me on Twitter at BurnettRM. Find me on Instagram at RMBurnett, or find me on postgeeksingularity.com or my YouTube channel, Postgeek Singularity.
And of course, our special guest, always great when he has time to fly in here, Christian Harloff. Where can people follow you and your stuff online?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. Appreciate it. The main thing for me is we hit 52,000, almost 52,000 subscribers on the Christian Harloff YouTube channel. Trying to get to 70 by the end of the year because we want to do like a live tour, doing stand-up comedy, big thing, all that stuff. So if you can go on over to the channel today, subscribe over there, Christian Harloff on YouTube. Pretty easy to find.
And of course, Ray Ora, who's been joining you guys in the live chat today. Ray, where can people find you?
Sorry, Ray Ora with a 0.
And at the employment line. And of course, sitting right beside him, running the show today, Jonathan Wojciko. Jonathan, where can people find you?
Oh, you can find me right here and on Twitter at Sonic if you want it.
And of course, you guys can follow me on Instagram or on Twitter, simply at John Campea. That'll do it for us for now, guys. Thanks so much for being here. We'll be back again tomorrow. And until next time, my friends, bye-bye.